Hey everybody, Drone here with another Star Trek CCG video. I'm here with my cohort Mark the Basement Mustin and Coco the Puppy Girl Binksy. We're here today to talk some first edition Dogs of War set. Are you excited, Mark, that there's a new 20 set coming out? Because I am.
At least this one looks good.
Yeah, I would definitely say that so far the set is looking very promising. 23 cards have been spoiled on the website. There's been one card that was spoiled through Facebook, one card they spoiled on the site at the bottom of the page, which they then removed. So we can't see it now. We can talk about it. I remember what it was. It was a new Worf, Klingon Worf, who had just some generic skills. His only real important aspect of him was the fact that he's got Ezri Dax as a romantic partner for cafe draws. That was the only thing that I remember sticking out. So I guess there's a new war for everybody that's not listed on the site yet, so you might not have seen it. It was spoiled, but very subtly. So there's that. There's also the Facebook one, which we're going to talk about that one first. We'll start with the Facebook spoiler card just to get it out of the way, and then we'll move on to what's on the CC website right now. But anyway, Dogs of War, new set. I'm excited, Mark's excited, Coco's excited. Her tail's wagging right now. For those of you who can't see at home, which no one can because I don't have the video set up for that. But Coco's tail is wagging because she's excited about stuff for the Dominion. She's a Dominion fan just like her dad, i.e. me. But this set, you know, I can be a little critical of the one-E designers at times, but that's only because I'm trying to push them to doing their best work, and because I care. I hurt you because I care, one-E designers. Anyway, Dogs of War looks to be a good set so far. We've been waiting a long time for new DS9 specific stuff. It has been 8 years, Mark. 8 years. Can you believe it? 8 years since Emissary came out. The Emissary block, the DS9 block, the last DS9 block came out. It's been 8 years since then. I remember playing online lackey block tournaments with it, and that was 8 years ago. Man, do I feel old. I feel very old, Mark.
I wasn't even playing then.
No, you weren't. You were not even playing the game yet. How many years? We've been friends for a very long time, Mark. But when was it that I taught you the game?
Oh God, maybe 6 years ago now.
Yeah, I want to say I taught you right after the Gamma Quadrant, like the mirror stuff came out. I want to say I taught you when the mirror stuff came out. So right here, right in this area of the timeline, as I think I remember teaching you as well. Like. But, I mean, that could be wrong. But, anyway, for those at home, Mark is one of my local players. I taught him how to play the game a long time ago. I beat him upside the head repeatedly, but he just wouldn't take, he wouldn't take no for an answer. He Rocky Balboa kept getting up and then, you know, and then just like said, no, I'm going to keep fighting. Adrian, I'm going to keep fighting.
And then figure out how to actually solve a mission
against him. and then you get really good when he's actually starting to figure out how to solve missions against me, which is something that some people have not been able to do. By the way, and James Heaney will back me up on this. The worst thing you can do against me is attempt a mission. He has made that comment more than once. It's like, oh, then the mistake I made in this game was I attempted a mission against Kevin. So. Yeah, so word to the wise out there. Just next time anybody plays me, don't attempt a mission. It's not going to go well for you. I'm just going to say. I mean, what, 2014 the North American Continentals? Yeah, in 2014 North American Continentals, I had 2 missions solved against me the entire day. That was 10 games. 10 games, only 2 missions got solved against me that day. So, you know, that's that. Anyway. That's off topic. We got sidetracked. Sorry, everybody. Anyway, Dogs of War. The set is basically Dominion focused. It's a focus on the Dominion War. Go to the CC website here, trekcc.org. Go to the first edition section of the game. Right here, you can just go ahead and click on this link, and that'll take you to the set. and the current list of cards that have been spoiled. There's also stuff going on in the forums, specifically the game, 1E gameplay and articles, and on the main website there's the articles that are being spoiled. Check those out, read those. I assume that this video is possibly going to go in there too, so that's maybe where you're seeing it. But anyway, check it out. There's a lot of stuff Trek related, and if you're watching this video, then obviously you care about that. So anyway, let's get going, Mark, on talking about this new set. So let's start with the Facebook promo. Increase white production. Planet mission, Alpha Quadrant, Devos 2, mass produce some white Ketracel white to maintain the Jem'Hadar soldiers' biochemical balance. So obviously the theme of this card was pulling from essentially a single line of Deep Space Nine that, oh yes, please increase our, or please contact our, I don't even remember how the line went exactly. It was just something, it was something that Wei Yun said. It was literally just a one line like, and please contact, and I'm going to contact our Sona allies to have them increase white production at their Devos 2 facility. And that was all that was said. And it wasn't until, and I don't remember if Insurrection came out before or after Season 7 of DS9. I don't remember offhand.
I couldn't tell you.
It had to have been before. It had to have been before. Because that would have been 1999, spring of 1999, and Insurrection came out fall of 98, I think? Anyway, so a single line, in DS9, and basically a throwaway line from William T. Riker when he was researching the Sona is like the entire basis for the Sona working with the Dominion, and so much of the set is basically based on 2 lines apparently. So that's kind of fun. Anyway, so the mission requires science, biology, and then either a Sona, a Vorta, or medical ×3. It is worth 25 points, Cardassian, Dominion, and oddly enough, Vidian, attemptable. And you get plus 5 points for each Sona present with a limit of 3. So if you got 3 Sona present, and then you get 40 points. I think that the cumulative rule applies here, because this card is trying to look at 3 cards. And I think that the cumulative applies here, so I think you may have to have 3. Anyway, check your rulebook on that one. Pester James Heaney on that question. Don't listen to me necessarily, but I think that the cumulative rule applies here, because it's 2 copies of the same card trying to have the same effect on the same other card at the same time. Anyway, there's lots of different Sona. You shouldn't have a problem. Just don't rely on a single one. Just don't rely on that one wrinkly-faced guy. Make sure you have 3 different wrinkly-faced guys.
Yeah, it's something to check on. I believe, if I recall correctly, they did update the rules so you can use the same person.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. I think they did update the rules where cumulative rule no longer applies to personnel. Yeah. So in which case, if you want to use Ray Ellen like 50 times in a deck, then you can have her do this. Like, just have 50 Ray Ellens in your deck and have her score 15 points for you. Anyway, so what do you think of this mission, Mark? 40 points, but you got to have 3 Sona. One of them's contributing to the mission requirements anyway, so it's basically just, can you come up with 2 additional Sona? What do you think?
It's definitely an interesting mission. Giving your Delta Quadrant more access to the Alpha Quadrant as well with this card, with the Vidians. Because the Vidians have no problem working with the Sona anyways, so...
Yeah, exactly. 2 different quadrants, it would be kind of an interesting deck where you are like half in the Alpha Quadrant, half in the Gamma Quadrant. You're playing your Vidians in the Delta Quadrant, and then you run them through the Barzan wormhole. You do have that one. You do have the other mission.
Yeah.
The other Dominion mission.
Yeah, they've gotten ways now.
That you can run
more
through.
Than one way to get from the Alpha Quadrant and from the Delta to the Alpha Quadrant,
and vice versa. Because with Barzan, you can go back and forth real easy. And since that other mission, since the Dominion Vidian mission is not stealable, it's a more reliable way of doing it. So that'd be something. You could run, 2 missions in the Delta Quadrant for your Vidian reporting and stuff like that, and then run this and some, and then the other one's a space mission. So you could do Planet and Space in the Alpha Quadrant with Vidians with this mission and the Barzan Wormhole attachment mission. So that could be something. And I mean, if you have 3 Sona, that's 40 points here. 30 points, I believe, for the space mission. Very easily a 3-mission win. So, yeah, my personal thought is that science plus biology is actually the thing about this mission and is going to be like the holdup. Biology in Dominion's not prevalent. It is with Sona, so I guess the Sona is probably was going to make this a doable mission because like your Sona, they have the science and the biology. So you're truly, if you're playing with this mission, you are truly relying on the Sona. I mean, the thematicness of the mission implies it, but to actually do it gameplay-wise, you definitely have to rely on this. Bonus points or no bonus points, you're pretty much having to rely on it. So, yeah, I mean, in some ways, it's kind of funny, but in some ways, I feel like this Cardassian icon here is like a vestigial appendage in a weird way. Like, it's practically useless. Because, if you're playing with Sona and Cardassians, then, and we'll get to the card, but basically, with the new card that gives Dominion and Sona, functionality together, all the Sona become Dominion. So, and if you have to solve it with a Sona, you have to have a Dominion person the whole way, pretty much. So I kind of feel like this is, I get it that like, this is still good design on the part of the designers to have this here, but I think as far as gameplay purposes, this seems pretty, yeah. I mean, you don't have to run the alliance with the Sona, but, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't. Most times. I mean, if you're going to play Cardassians and you're going to play Sona, if you want to have your Sona and your Cardassians work together, I guess TNG. There we go. TNG Cardassians would be your reason. TNG Cardassians are your reason that you need this little dumb thing right here. So it's about it's about as useful as your appendix then. Okay? We'll put that. It's an appendix level icon right here. So anyway. Moving on, that's increased white production. I think it's a good card. Mark, let's talk stars. Every card we look at today, let's talk stars. 5-star scale, give it your Zagat review. 5 stars being the best, half a star meaning that you would rather just burn the card for fuel than actually play with it in the game. What's your rating on this card?
Don't do this to me.
You're not, no one's holding your feet to the fire on this, Mark. No one is literally going to like call you up and be like, Mark, you lied to me. You gave it 3 stars. I think it's a 1 star. You need to go to hell. Come on, man. Like, just give me a rating, Mark. Off the cuff, what's your heart tell you?
I say it's about, not knowing the game as well as others, just the fact that you have options with it. I'll give it 3 stars.
Okay. See, Mark, you have a value. You said it yourself. You are not as experienced with this game as other people. I'm extremely experienced at this game. Between the two of us, we're getting like both ends of the spectrum of our opinion here. So I value your star rating because, and I guarantee the designers do too, with the new long-term plan and them caring about new players, they also want to know what do newer, more less experienced players, what are they thinking about the cards? So I do value your opinion. Everyone listening at home is going to value your opinion. Mark gives it 3 stars. I'm going to give it 2.5. I'm going to give it 2.5. And the reason I'm a little bit lower than you, Mark, is just simply the fact that you need to have a Sona of order or 3 medical. 3 medical's not easy, okay? Like, that's not going to be... Coming up with 3 of anything in this game at, when you need it...
Unless you're playing the Vidians.
Unless you're playing Vidians. But that's the reason why this is here, is because these 2 parts of the card right here, that's what works together, right? So the Vidians are, this is how they're doing it, right? So Vidians actually are the most reliable to solve this mission in a weird way, because they'll work with the Sona most likely, and then they'll have tons of medical. But if you're playing Dominion, 3 medical is very difficult. Vorta becomes a target, and they're weak, right? And and then Sona's your most reliable thing, and you're bringing enough along. Honestly, the other reason why I'm giving this 2.5 is that this right here. If you're banking on this being worth 40 points, And if you inadvertently solve this without having 3 Sona present, not here, present. They're going to be on the planet, which means they were attempting. So you have to have 3 Sona actually be part of the mission solve. You know, so that basically means like you send in dummy crews that cannot solve, and then you send them in to solve, in which case you're committing a lot of resources in order to do that, and you might be splitting things up. So like a back-end kill dilemma might actually keep you from points. And if you're relying on those 40 points, that might be a problem. So 2.5 stars, Mark gives it 3. Only time will tell. All right, moving on. We'll do this here. We'll just go down the row here. Or should we do it a different way, Mark? What do you think? Should we go down the line, or should we like work from the bottom? Let's work from the bottom up. Dilemmas are the glory hogs of this game. Talk about the quarterbacks of First Edition, right? They get all the glory. They take all the blame. We'll do that one last. Okay, we'll work bottom up. We'll do some simple stuff first, and then we'll work our way to the meat. Because this is your 3rd and 4th and 5th batter in the lineup right here. Is this stuff right here? So we'll get to it after we take care of the boring stuff, right? We'll call personnel the boring stuff because they're the only ones who could be bored, right? Okay, starting with the Revarin. Romulan ship, Deep Space Nine, so we'll get the reshaped DS9 logo. Does have a matching commander. Revarin, the Derrix class, flagship of the Romulan forces, stationed at DS9 during the final stage of the Dominion War, commanded by Valal, so it does have a matching commander. So with Captain's Log, it gets a boost. Valal himself has security, so you can stick a tactical console on it. You can really beef this ship up. I honestly think this is a really good ship. I honestly do. Cloaking device, big deal. Tractor beam, more important than you think. Possibly very meta relevant. Weapons and shields +2 versus Dominion. New sets come out. People want to play with the new toys. Probably early meta. This is a must-have ship in your DS9 deck, just because of the fact that with Captain's Log, you're already at a 14/14 with the commander board. That's pretty good. So, staffing isn't ridiculous. You have to put 3 people on it to fly it, but again, you only need Valal to shoot. So, you just have some lackeys like fly it somewhere, and then Valal presses the button. So, what are your thoughts, Mark?
And overall, decent stats for the ship. It is a unique ship, so a little bit harder to get into play. We basically have to draw this one to get it in, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any way that you can get it in otherwise, because you can't download it with DS9 because it's not going to be a matching affiliation. Like you said, it's not universal, so you can't bring it in with any of the space door or call for reinforcements. Its matching commander does not have engineer on him, so you'd have to put him into play and get somebody to get engineer on him, and also probably seed the incident that allows you to download a matching ship to a matching commander engineer. So construct starship. So this shit, like you said, this is gonna have to be a you draw and you play it, but its stats and its ability and the fact that it's potentially a big fat hammer like that balances it.
And again, without knowing a lot of the game, I would say this is probably near the top of my list for a Romulan ship to go in the deck.
Yeah, it would be probably the Romulan ship you're putting in first. Like if you're going to run the new DS9, quad treaty, which we will get to, this is pretty much your first ship in the deck. If you're running even if you're not running the big quad treaty, even if you're running just DS9 Romulans with say Federation or Bajorans, and you're running like Here by Invitation or something silly like that, or Romulans and Bajoran Resistance Cell, this is a good ship. Even outside of the quad treaty, the new quad treaty deck that's going to come out, the people are going to play with, this is still a really good ship. I mean, 9 range, 9 weapons, 9 shields is about as strong as it gets outside of, real true heavy hitters. So anyway, good ship. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. What do you think, Mark?
Same here.
3.5? All right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we're in agreement. It's all about that cloaking device. If it had a holodeck, it would be the only thing that would have made it better.
Oh, yeah.
It needs a holodeck. We know Romulans have holodecks. Why can't they give it a holodeck? Oh, jeez, come on. All right, modified Vorcha, Klingon ship. Basically, this is a universal one.
Yep.
Also has a cloaking device. Also has a tracking beam. Its energy dampeners here are offline. Text is interesting. This is a generic, it's the representative of the Klingon heavy cruisers used in the Dominion War after the Breen used their energy dampening technology to decimate the Alliance fleet at the Second Battle of Chintaka. So that's the storyline for this ship. Energy dampeners are not exactly a widely used tactic because you have a special ship to use it as a tactic. So any of the tactics, I mean, we're now in a post-Breen Disruptor Burst meta, so more tactics are getting used, but energy dampeners are not exactly prevalent, so I don't know how relevant, this little bit of game text is, but, who knows. But the big thing is, though, is it's 8s across the board. As a universal ship, that's respectable, because it is universal, so this is a ship that you could space store. This is a ship that you could call for reinforcements on. That being probably the bigger issue, that this is a call for reinforcements ship that does have a matching commander. So that has also been revealed in the set, Chuvak. So we'll get to him in a moment. But I'm going to give this one just the average 3 stars. Possibility of a 3.5 just because of the fact that it is a universal, so you can have multiples in play. You can play multiples in your deck and not have to worry about it. And when we get to future cards that we'll talk about here, that may be a big deal, that the ability to have a universal that you can put 3 in the deck so you don't draw multiples of it, having that be a problem. So what do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, again, with it being universal, I'm going to bump it to a 4. Again, I don't know a lot about the Deep Space Nine stuff, so I don't know what there is out there for other Klingon-type ships, but I do like the universal and the stats on it. And again, with only needing the 1 command star, pretty easy to staff.
Yeah, 1 command star. I mean, just like the Revarin, only 1 command star is a big deal. Not having that. It seems weird, but a second command star is quite a bit of a burden to come up with. I mean, with 1 command star, 2 staff stars, for the most part, randomly 3 people that you're going to have in play can staff it, right? But 2 command stars, you can easily run into problems, when you lose people to damage flips and stuff like that. So, all right, so modified Vorcha, we're giving it, 3.5 stars. It's good. I think it'll see play. I think 3 stars is the it'll see play star registry. That's that's what I'm thinking. 3 stars. It sees play. It's not game breaking. It's not a power card. It's a reliable thing you're gonna see get played just because it has a place to go. All right, moving on. Uss Magellan Federation, unique Galaxy class, fun Operation Return, briefly commanded by Admiral Ross, served as his flagship during the Battle of Cardassia. And this is where we talk about 2 command stars and a staff requirement. This one does have a holodeck, so that's what this second command star is for, is the fact that DS9 is getting a holodeck. Tractor beam, if in DS9 mode, meaning you have reshaped the quadrant in play, you get a special download of Line of Defense. Line of Defense is an event. Plays on table, your ships are shields +3 while at missions with matching affiliation icons. So this is a broadcasting. This is a broadcasting event. So all your ships with get shields +3 at threat of matching affiliation mission. That's a big deal. That is a very big deal. That's the other reason why you have to have a second command star on this ship, is because this special download basically auto turns this ship into a 9/9/11 at any Fed mission. And if you're playing Feds, you better have Fed missions. So while you're at essentially your missions, this ship gets tough. And then with Admiral Ross as the matching commander, with Captain's Log, another 14 shields with just, 1 card special downloaded, another card downloaded with Ready Room Door. So
just more ways to help defend against those damn Dominions.
Yep, exactly. That's clearly what the designers are thinking, is that, the meta that might develop here, in regional season will be, there's going to be some people that are going to be playing you know, the new you know, DS9 Alliance decks. There's going to be some new Dominion things to do, and I mean, everybody knows that Kevin's going to be playing Dominion at some point, so be ready, world. And I guess the Magellan's going to be the one way in which they're going to be ready, I guess. I don't know. I mean, line of defense doesn't stop invasive beaming, though, so what you gonna do?
I mean, it does help for at least this deck with some of the other cards we'll see later. Ship battling, and even just as a newer player, ship battling is a whole lot easier to do than personnel battling is.
Was faster in the game. You know, it's just as a matter of actually playing the game, it's a much faster mechanic.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's less fun than hacking and slashing. I'm just going to tell you right now, Mark. I thoroughly enjoy saying, I beam onto your ship, I initiate personnel battle. Let's play some war. Let's play some old school poker war. Well, you know,
No, my Kazon's had that done with enough. No more.
Mark, for those of you listening at home, Mark has had to be on the receiving end of my invasive demons during testing phases a lot. So
first tournament, turn 1, invasive demon into my only headquarters. I spent the first 30, 40 minutes until he started doing missions just playing 1 or 2 people just to have them die.
So Mark was playing a Kazon Warfleet deck. It was one of the first decks that he learned how to play the game on, and I told him that it was a good deck to learn on because as a newer player, you know, if you don't want to get completely like beat up by top level players, you got to threaten them back a little bit. And Mark's a bit of an interactive player. In Magic, other card games, Mark likes to do interaction to a modest degree. I think Mark, you are what's classified as a mid-range player. You like to be interactive, and then you like to switch gears.
Oh yeah.
In that sense, you are my true protege because that's what I am. I'm a mid-range player. I beat my opponent up, and then I leisurely walk to the finish line. That might actually classify me as a control player, but I think of myself as a mid-range player just because of the fact that when I do need to actually step on the gas offensively, I can do it. But anyway, that's a total side point. Mark and other people are definitely going to want as much line of defense as they can come up with, and the Magellan will definitely provide that. With the matching commander of Admiral Ross, it's just another ship that, like, hey, you got a matching commander, that is great. It says Admiral Ross matching commanders 2 ships. You get a little bit of flexibility where if you draw Admiral Ross in your hand, you have that twice as much chance of having a matching ship for him with your captain's log. So anyway, Magellan, I'm gonna give it 3.5, borderline 4 stars. It's obviously a useful card. The special download is what I'm like, this might actually get to a 4-star level because that special download is really good. Line of Defense is not a great card, except for when it comes in for free.
Free cards are always good.
Free cards, free events are usually a good thing in this game. Okay, moving on. First personnel, Romulan, General Lar, Universal, random background screen grab. Good job. I mean, obviously any of these background jobbers, you know, good job to art department for making this image even this good, because when you actually watch it, because again, DS9 has not been remastered. So they're pulling standard definition images deep in the background, out of focus characters. This is a pretty good job. I will give the art department props on this one because this is probably not a good image, an easy image to pull and turn into this aspect ratio. So good to them. But anyway, General Lar, Universal Command Star. So here we go. Here's some Command Star for the Magellan. Military negotiator. She attended the signing of the Treaty of Bajor as the highest-ranking Romulan officer after Valal died. Valal died? Oh, no. Spoiler alert, everybody. Valal dies at the Battle of Cardassia. Anyway, diplomacy, honor, archaeology. Now, there's a good... See this right here?
Yeah.
This skill right here? You see that? You see that? You know, she's not a dip hole. She's a dip arc. She is master of archaeology. If she is with Valal, or any DS9... Romulan VIP. She also does medical geology, which is, again, that's this right here, like this little triangle right here. Yeah, that's the good stuff.
Oh yeah,
this is the good stuff right here, right? You know, I mean, because you know, you're gonna have. I mean, everyone's gonna have to play with, you know, what's his name, Vreenak. Everyone's gonna have to play with Vreenak just so they can scream out it's a fake, just so they can meme it. And so getting General Lardar with Senator Vreenak as a Romulan DS9 VIP will probably not be difficult. So she's gonna basically be a 5-skill universal and have 3 of those skills be very, like, the hard skills to come up with, and then she's got 2 skills you just need to have. Female, relevant for female drain decks. General, which is a big deal because then she can help deal with executive authorization and junk like that. So DS9 struggles to beat executive authorization, oddly enough, because, oddly enough, being a prophet doesn't get you past an executive authorization. Captains can't get past executive authorizations. You need to be someone better than that. So DS9 in a pure DS9 deck is kind of, Feds especially, they struggle. So she's a general, so that's good. What do you think, Mark?
I like her.
Yeah? Yeah?
I mean,
best color guy in the business, everybody.
officer archaeology is always, you see a lot of archaeology with officers, so that's a little bit of a knock against it.
Yeah.
But you just have to deal with it. Archaeology, though, is becoming a more important skill. Just have so much in your decks nowadays with dilemmas.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Like you said, that is the problem, though. Pairing the archaeology with the officer means that she gets hit by the very dilemmas that she needs to help you try to get past. So, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on it? Archer running from the Zindi Blast. That dilemma.
Leap.
Oh gosh.
It's leap. I believe it's something.
Yeah, Quantum Leap.
Yeah, there we are.
Quantum Leap. That's right. The Scott Bakula joke card. Quantum Leap. She is an officer, so her archaeology is trying to beat that dilemma. It's dead. But I mean, misinterpreted history and stuff like that is also a big deal. So like you still need to have this.
Give me the random medical and geology because is good as well, though.
Yeah, because DS9's medical has been very Bashir-centric. It's very Bashir-centric. So getting some non-Bashir medical. What's that?
He's the only doctor you see.
Yeah, right? Right? All those dang nurses. Only one doctor, apparently. All right, moving on. So that's General R. We'll move on. We'll get to Chulak now. We came back and we got Chulak now. He's the matching commander for that Universal Modified Horcha that we already looked at. He's a VIP. He's got a command star. He's got leadership, engineer, honor, and archaeology that is not on an officer.
And he's a general.
And he's a general also. And he's also a matching commander of a ship. So that's kind of what you're paying for when you go to Unique. You can't put multiples of him in play, but you get archaeology not on an officer, and you get him to be a matching commander of a universal ship that you're going to be playing several of, possibly. So matching him to his ship will be just a question of getting him in play, probably. So, so I'm giving him the 3.5 stars. He's a little bit more than just your typical, like, backbone 3-star, goes in a deck, does work. He's a little bit more of that work because of the fact that he's got the archaeology, not on an officer, and then engineer honor combination. So
I'll give him 4 stars because he's also the general.
Mm-hmm.
And then I haven't seen a lot of them, but I do know they're out there. VIP is becoming something to start to look at as far as cards as well.
Well, there is the discussion that's going on right now that I don't agree with ultimately, and I think will ultimately get nerfed by rules. But the discussion that's been going on yesterday and today about whether or not you can take the 2 VIP draws and substitute both of them. So when you have a VIP in guest quarters, like change one draw into look at 2 cards or draw 2 cards instead, and then you could replace both of them and then ignore the having to put the second card back. If rules lets that stand, if gameplay, lets that stand as is, well then being a VIP becomes a very big deal. Having a random VIP that you can play and actually put guest quarters as one of your sites and then potentially get extra card draws, dirty card draws, because you got to replace them. In order to make that work, it has to be replaced. But with Q, you could always, Q the referee, tribunal of Q, turn it into a Q the ref card, and then basically dirty it later by having Q the referee send that back and turning it into a card draw. So there's ways to do it, and that's ultimately the reason why I don't agree with it. Is because I think I don't think that VIP quarters was designed. That was not intended to be that way. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing for that to be that way because being able to replace card draws, more card draws. But then again, cards which allow you to draw more cards. I mean, it is a seed investment. You only get 6 free site cards, so it is an investment. So I mean, I don't know. That'll be up to people other than me to decide. But
that again, I didn't realize that. Again, I'm not especially the Nor and the sites. I am not an expert whatsoever.
You're gonna have some learning to do.
But I do know there are.
You've never played DS9 yet, have you, Mark?
Not as a actual DS9, other than like in a cube draft type setup. No.
Yeah, exactly. Like you played Bajoran Fed in my cube draft at one point, and you actually had DS9 as your specialty pack.
Yeah.
But that's that's like the only time you've ever played them.
No, the closest I've ever gotten to playing Deep Space Nine has been running random cadets into a hodgepodge deck.
Oh, that's right.
You fly around the Alpha Quadrant and battle people with them.
Yeah, you played when the Valiant when the set that had the Valiant in it. You actually tried running that.
It was like it was a wacky Enterprise type setup to where I was like running Enterprise.
Well, good news, Mark.
And then just had the random Valiant with its cadets on there just trying to fly around and bully people.
Yeah.
While he was doing other stuff.
Well, good news, Mark. Good news for you is that you can play with the cadets in the new staging area deck because they are DS9 logos, so they will get DS9. And you can play with a Valiant, but they're both reactor core cards, I believe. So you have to play one or the other. I don't think you can do both. Because I think that the Valiant download and reporting mechanism is also a reactor core card. So I don't think you can do both. But if you want to play with the cadets in the staging area deck, you totally could. And the Valiant. You may want to have the Valiant. Just because. But anyway, moving on. So Mark's giving it, 4 stars? I'm giving it 3.5.
Because there are dilemmas. A few dilemmas I've started seeing played, as well as a couple of missions that require VIPs.
Yes. Yep.
So VIP is becoming a more important classification.
Sure. Okay, moving on. Chancellor Martok. Honor General. So what other general? Lots of generals. So maybe coming up with general now will not be that big of a deal anymore.
Well, welcome to a war.
Welcome to the war. He's the brass. Where's the brass at? Anyway, Martok became High Council leader after the death of Gowron, soldier who detests politics, commands the IKS Rotarian, so he is the new persona of Martok. He still gets to command the Rotarian, which is a decent ship on its own. Attributes of 988, which is really strong. That's really good. Officer, leadership, diplomacy, honor ×2, law. So he is a dipole. He's a lawful dipole, but again, VIP and officer. So he's, once per game you may download Mantle of the Empire. So that's pretty good. It is a non-special download, so you can't just do it at any time. You have to, as an action, do it. And we'll do Mantle of the Empire next, and we'll skip the Mantle of the Empire. I'm just going to give him 3 stars. I don't think there's anything too special about him. His skill set's nothing special. The only thing that's special about him is High Council, but DS9 High Council, I think the old version of it did it too. Yeah, High Council member. So that's nothing, you're not getting anything new. So, I don't really consider that to be special. Still commands the Rotarian, etc., etc. The only thing that makes it good is just this download of Mantle of the Empire. Mantle of the Empire equipment. If with your Klingon Chancellor, their attributes all +1, and your Klingon security present gain leadership. May discard to prevent your Chancellor present from being killed by a dilemma. So, I guess Martok has a way to protect himself against dilemmas, and has the ability to and I guess he gets a boost. So really, as long as he downloads Mantle of the Empire, he's actually a 10/9/9. You know, 10. Yeah, he's big, he's strong. You can rely on him. So I guess that's the one good thing about him. I'm just gonna give him, like I said, I just give him 3 stars. I can't give him more than that, just because like his skill set is so blah.
Yeah, I mean, same here. I mean, so many repetitive skills. The law can creep up every once in a while in a requirement that's needed. Not so much in 1E that I've seen as like 2E where it's more important to have the random line.
Oddly enough, but we're only talking 1E here, Mark. We're only talking 1E.
Yeah, but so, again, like 1E, it's law is just that one.
It's a skill that's pretty not big of a deal.
Those that any dilemmas or whatever that need law randomly have something else that you get by with anyways. So.
Or what it does to you is not that big of a deal if you don't have the law. So the law is more like is there a random mission that requires law, and there isn't. I don't think there is any. Well, there's a couple, but
yeah, there's a few. But again, if it has law, it's usually got some other requirement as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. Law tends to be just like one of the or requirements. So yeah, so Martok, you'll probably use him just because of the fact that he's he gets the Mantle of the Empire, I guess, and has beefy stats. I guess that's your only reason to use him.
He's I believe an upgrade over the old map.
The old one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that, just because of the fact that weapons plus two has been I think you might actually play with this one over the new one, just because if especially if you're deciding that you want to run this as this new DS9 staging ground deck as an Armada deck. Well, I think you may want this.
Yeah, especially and he has nav 2, so
nav 2, double nav is nothing to sneeze at. So, all right, so Martok, we're gonna just give him a middle of the road grade. He's not bad. He's not great. He's a guy. Moving on, Grand Nagus Rom. He was spoiled a while back in text only. Now we actually get to see the picture, and it is of course Max Grudenchik. Making Rom face. He's making Rom face right here. Like that is classic Rom face. So VIP command stars and more VIPs. I feel that there's a lot of VIPs now. But again, war. Everyone, all these leaders feel themselves so important now. The former waiter. So he's a waiter, Rom. He marries Lita in 2373. Selected by Grand Nagus deck to become a kindler, gentler, more benevolent Nagus to succeed him. Dip hole. He's a dip hoe. He's not there's no hole there, just a dip hoe. With engineer physics, and your other Ferengi are integrity +2. So Ferengi both in affiliation and in their species. Realistically, that basically means in the DS9 deck that he's just going to force Quark and Nog and Pell, to be a little bit more integral. But that's about it, I did discuss in the forums that you could, there is a fun way that you could actually make this useful, but it's such a corner case that it's really not even worth doing. So I don't view this skill as being that big of a deal. To be perfectly honest, the old version of ROM with these skills, way bigger of a deal. I would rather play with this. So the new ROM, I give it 2 stars. What do you think?
Again, just overall usage from my perspective, I'll go 2.5 on him. He is a waiter, does have so you get that aspect to it. You get more and more cards that are coming out that are looking at those odd cases like that. Skill wise, the other one is by far better for the skills.
Yeah. That and possible integrity of 9, kind of a bigger deal.
Well, he's already integrity 9 on his own, so as the Grand Nagus.
No, but sorry, cunning. I meant cunning. I said cunning of 9. Cunning of 9 is a big deal. Integrity 9, I suppose. I mean,
cunning 8, so it's only 1 less.
Sure. So, yeah, we're about the same. Then I'm giving him 2. You're giving him 2.5. He's not going to necessarily be put into a deck, and that's the reason why I think both of us came down. Is that he doesn't reach that 3-star. He goes in the deck because he's good enough to just go in the deck. Like, because there's a version of him that just has better, more useful skills, he's going to have a hard time, like, getting past that. So when you use him, you're going to have a good reason to use him, which is why he's not a 1-star.
Yeah.
But you just can't justify using him over ROM. Especially since this ROM, as a dual affiliation personnel, gives you even more flexibility when you do your staging ground drop. So, anyway, that's Grand Nagus ROM. Lieutenant Nog. Staff icon, officer, honor, engineer, nav, diplomacy, special downloads, phaser, array, power cell for a quick cheap 5 points if you survive a battle in which you and your opponent both fire your weapons. So Nog is a one-time 5 points walking around. Okay. Officer, engineer, honor, nav, diplomacy is an interesting skill set. But it's exactly the same skill set that one of the Cisco's has. So there's nothing about this skill set that makes him stand out. As a staffing icon as opposed to a command icon, that can become an issue as well. And then, of course, with, again, this version of Nog, where he's more useful for staging ground and, potentially has a double engineer, and therefore doesn't get stopped by personal duty, which this one does. These are all factors. 2.5 stars, and I feel like I'm being generous. What do you think? And I think that half a star just comes off of these 5 points, which isn't even a guaranteed 5 points because you have to actually fight somebody. Yeah. And if your opponent's in a different quadrant, you're not fighting anybody. So these 5 points aren't even guaranteed. 2.5 stars, I'm being generous.
Yeah, I'll go 2. Again, because if I recall correctly, I mean, basically for the points here with Nog, I mean, it's so hard to because it's hard for you to actually initiate it yourself since he is fed.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're initiating; it's more of a reactive. Oh, you're gonna come fight me? Okay, I'll score 5 points then.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I fired back. So
and it's ship only. Like you can't just I'm gonna score 5 points off a personnel battle. Yeah. It has to be ship.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean these 5 points are like nowhere near even a guaranteed 5 points. The only thing that makes him decent in my mind right now is the 886 right here. The fact that you have good balanced integrity, cunning, and at least a respectable 6 strength. Because on a Ferengi, you wouldn't expect 6 strength isn't necessarily a given. So, yeah. But then again, it's like, I mean, why am I playing him? Versus
a dual icon one with better skills.
Well, versus this one. Or even a double personnel one where I get Jake along with just so I can say I have Jake in play, and you get these fun skills. So I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it with this card. I know why they put it in the set. I don't disagree with the set. With the creative team putting him into this set, but I just he's not wetting my whistle at all. So
and trying to keep cards from having too many skills, but so many of these cards have already shown Honor Dippo is 2 of them. It's like you only need so much of both of those.
Yeah, exactly. And when I'd rather have this right here, this bio acquisition engineer civilian combo,
civilian youth, remarkably can come in handy.
Yeah, remarkably ever so often you're just like, oh, I really want a civilian right now. All right, moving on. That's all the time we're giving him. All right, let's get to some spice. You ready for some spice, Mark? Let's get spicy. Spicy Damar meatball. Damar, Dominion Damar, command, officer, diplo, engineer, treachery, physics, stellar cartography, a meaningless special download, which we will rail about here momentarily. 478. Anyway, Cardassian legate and head of state, holds no true power in the Dominion, hates the Vorta, drowns his woes in alcohol, and arranged a surgeon for Ducat. Stellar cartography, though, Mark. What do you think about that? Stellar cartography and an engineer on an officer.
And physics. So,
physics.
I mean, just good skills, needed skills.
Good skills for Dominion, yeah. Good skill combination for Dominion. and the fact that he's a strength 8 in Dominion means that you can still be like, yeah, I'm going to play with him, and he's going to fight right next to my Jem'Hadar at strength of 8. So, really good card. I give him 4 stars, and I feel like I'm being conservative because of the fact that this skill set with the 8 strength and the fact that he's a legate, so he gets past executive authorization. Stellar Cartography is, with Dominion and the fact that you have the Jem'Hadar that you download that have Stellar Cartography for your support personnel, it's not that big of a deal. But you throw those Dominion Jemmies into the wood chipper.
Yep.
And then you need to have the Stellar Cartography potentially. So, and then physics. Physics is, again, it's the same thing. Like, his skill set right here, you throw that to the wood chipper, and so he provides your backup to it. And then diplomacy in Dominion is always difficult.
Yeah.
Because it's always on the Vorta. And the Vorta suck, right? Now, we're going to probably get new Vorta, and maybe they won't suck, because we need Alpha Quadrant Vorta now. And so having diplomacy in your Alpha Quadrant Dominion. So this right here, this is where I feel like I'm being conservative by only giving him 4 stars. He might be 4.5. Might be.
Depending on if there's any Vorta and what there are.
Depending on the Alpha Quadrant Vorta.
Yeah, if they give you and then what they are, yeah.
Yep. So I'm giving him a 4 conservatively now because we don't know what's coming else in the set, which is a weird thing to say for a personnel. Usually you say that sort of thing when it comes to one of the verbs in a set. But for whatever, but for him it actually does apply.
Yeah.
Mark, how do you feel about a special download that doesn't exist in the game and may never exist in the game? Because who knows when Kanar is ever going to get made as a card? Because it is strictly a Cardassian, strictly a Deep Space Nine thing. And this is the only DS9 cards we know of that are going to be coming out in the next several blocks. What do you think about that, Mark? Do we hate it or do we really hate it?
It is annoying by far. It's like, oh, what's this card? And then it goes nowhere. It's like, well, why do we have this on here then? It is not fun for new players who are trying to learn this game. You may not have someone they can go to on a regular basis and just say, hey, help me learn these cards. And not a lot. I can usually ask Kevin here, I need this that does this and this, and he could point me at a couple of examples. But if he's not around, and I'm, the first couple of decks I wanted to do, I dive in head first. Not a game that you want to do it on, but I've done it.
But you were very brave, Mark, and I gave you a cookie for that.
I've done it, and I've built my own, and can get annoying when you're like, oh, what's this thing do? And then you click on it, and it doesn't go anywhere.
Yep.
And it's like...
Yep. So, because so this is the thing. This is the thing that bugs the crap out of me, and this is strictly guys, guys behind the scenes running the site. How hard would it be to just have this click to something that just says, this card does not yet exist? When it says, sorry, no results, sorry, no results as in, my computer messed up? Or sorry, no results as in, is this potentially just a bad link? Sorry as in, it's one of those things where it's like, it's the little poop. It's the little piece of poop on top of the already pile of poop that is a broken link. Okay, I'm sorry. Mark is not the only person I've taught this game to. I have taught this game to a dozen people. Every single one of them, when I've had to explain to them what a broken link is, have all given me the exact same response. This is dumb. This is stupid. This is expletive, expletive, expletive. Always a variation of that exact comment. It's always that comment, though. It's always, what? That doesn't make any sense. That's stupid. Why would you have a card download nothing that exists? Why would you have that? And I don't know what to tell. It's just one of the many little things that turns people off from learning this game. If the powers that be, and I'm sorry to soapbox everybody, but if the powers that be want to be serious about the long-term plan for 1E and how we need to care more about new players, and we should be caring more about new players if we want to have this game 10 years from now, is we need to be concerned about the dumb little things like this. Because Because honestly, in a world full of entertainment options, it doesn't take much to have someone be like, that annoys me. I'm not doing it.
And as a better landing page for that does not exist.
Yeah, this right here.
Yeah, sorry, no results. Even if you put up like a page that just brought up like some of the others, like when you click on Leggett, I believe, where it brings, or I don't know if that's one of them, where you bring on, doesn't it bring up like a page that has a bunch of,
Yeah,
a page
exactly.
like a page just like this,
Yeah,
where you just list all the cards that have no results right now, and then put on there like if it's in the works or if it's still just like if it's in testing at it maybe at a point.
Lie to people. You know what? Honestly, stretch the truth a little bit. It's not an outright lie. This card is not yet designed. It is still in development.
Yeah.
I mean, because honestly, for a lot of them, it might be true. The designers have said, well, these broken links, we've actually sent them to playtesters. They didn't pass playtesting yet. We hope to get them out. So you know what? Stretch the truth a little bit. The new players are not going to know the difference. They're not going to feel betrayed if they later find out that wasn't the truth. No one's really going to care. Like, you know, because how are they going to necessarily... I mean, honestly, like, I agree with you, Mark, 100%. This link right here needs to go to a similar... Here is a list of cards that do not, you know... This is... You can just say, like, this card is considered a broken link. It does not yet exist in the game. Here is the list of cards that are broken links and are currently still in development. Something like that. List them. People go like, oh, game card doesn't exist. They know about it. It may come in the future. I'm sorry. With new players, you have to hold their hand.
It'll also give the designers a chance to where if there's a lull or something, like, oh, there's 9 cards out here right now. Let's do a quick little specialty suite or what, you know.
Well, I know that they're talking about that. I know that they've talked about wanting to do that. Charlie has said that openly. They have in the back of their mind that they want to do that. They want to have we close all these broken links set just to reset the clock. Just to be like, okay, now if we make more broken links, these are all the broken links that we have. They need to do that. That needs to be a priority in my mind. Because the problem with broken links is always going to be that the person who designed the card that had the broken link is probably the only person who really cares to fix that broken link.
Well, I mean, there's that, and then it's also the fact that then you diminish, like with DeMario, you diminish you give him six skills. Well, no, you only give him 5.
Yeah.
Because one of them doesn't do anything right
One
now.
of them is literal dead space.
It's like, it would be just better to give him something else than at that point.
This canard right here might as well be a dildo hanging off his belt. I mean, honestly, it's as useful as a dildo on a belt.
Hey, either give him another skill or you give him another characteristic or something.
Exactly.
Instead.
Exactly. If you're guys, designers, just listen to us on this. Stop it with the broken links. If you make a broken link, you better have a plan for it. You better put it on the clock. It needs to be filled within 2 sets, guaranteed. If you have to make space for it, well, that's fine. You guys need to realize that there has to be like pressure on you that when you make a broken link, you fill it. If you make a broken link, you have to understand that you're putting pressure on the designers of other sets, future sets, that they have to make room for it. Because that's the real problem. Because when you make a broken link like this, you've created nothing. You then put burden on somebody else, or maybe even yourself, in the future to fill it. And even if you're not doing that, you're just pissing people off in the meantime. Because the people who like broken links do not like them nearly as much as we hate them. Guaranteed. We hate this way more than people who like broken links like broken links. I've never heard anybody like wax philosophic about how much they love broken links. I have waxed endlessly about how much I hate broken links. So guys, tone it down, plug these holes, and then realize that, you know, when you make new holes, you got to have rules in place for how long before you have to fill it. You need to have some accountability in what you're doing, because just making these broken links, it's consequence-free nonsense.
It would the broken links wouldn't bother me as much, like you were saying there, if there was a time limit to them. Again, you get 9, 10 of these broken links that build up, and you release just a 9-card set, a 1-page print, like they have randomly with like some of the holiday stuff that they do.
Yep.
Like again, you said a lot of these cards are probably already in development, so it's like they had them out at one point. They might just need a little bit of fine tuning. Just like, oh well, here's a collection of these. Oh, here we'll just we'll put this out in a lull where we might have a delay on a set for some reason. Something happens and they have to delay a set for a little bit. Well, here's a random 9 cards that come out of the game and fill it. If these links that come up like this, it's not filled in the set. But if they're going to be filled within the next 18 months or whatever, or after enough of them build up, you're going to get them. Then they're not as annoying as long as it's posted out there and players know, okay, this isn't out yet. We're still working on it. It's going to be coming. But when you get them out there, you just don't know if they're going to show up. New players, it's like, well, give them a new characteristic, give them a 6 skill.
My personal feelings aside, and again, everybody, everything that's in this video, these are our opinions. This is not the official position of the CC, right? If this video is linked on the main page, I just want to make it clear right now, nobody's endorsing these opinions other than Mark and I, right? So, this is entirely our opinion. Agree with it, disagree with it, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Reasonable people can disagree. Any of these other half a dozen lawyerisms that I can, lawyer philosophy out there. But honestly, the truth of the matter is that my experience has been that broken links are not new player friendly. They're not a positive experience for people who are learning the game, and that needs to either be eliminated or toned down. If you create a special download, you've got to create the card that goes with it post haste, because otherwise you're just going to have this black hole that's sucking people's interest. That sucks a new player's interest right out the door. So anyway, that's enough about that.
You also, just one other quick thing, you also run into, we finally fixed this broken link. 2.5 years down the line. What was the broken link to? People forget. Some of the newer players or those that aren't obsessed with it, they don't remember what that. They don't remember that this actually fixed the broken link.
Yeah, because we're gonna have GOG come out. GOG is gonna come out. As the Will of the Collective card. Well, the Will of the Collective adjacent, because it didn't get done. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But GOG is going to come out, and the card that it ties to came out, again, 8 years ago. If anybody who's learned the game in the last 5 years doesn't know about that random, total, one-off side character, they're not going to necessarily realize, when GOG is put on the card list just like this, it's going to have a link, to Cook or whatever, and you're going to see it. But again, we need to reduce complexity, and one of the just subtle, tiny little ways of reducing complexity is eliminating the time between cards that are connected to each other. That's just good game design. That is all we're going to say about this. We're going to move on.
Yep. Next card.
Odo! Odoitu. Or just Odo for short. Fed. Majoran. Cardassian. He's a triple threat. Command Star Dominion Infiltrator. And they don't get infiltrated very often. So that's good. He's a changeling. He aided Damar's resistance. Frequent shapeshifting has advanced the onset of the morphogenic virus. He posed as the founder leader once. He has a honor, law, computer skill, diplomacy, security set. So this is interesting. It's kind of interesting that he only gets 1 security, but it kind of makes sense because he's in a weakened state. But honestly, honor, law, computer skill, diplomacy, security as a skill set, it's an interesting mix. He has 2 special downloads, one of You Dirty Rat to hand, which is important, and a special download of Strike 3 when he's attacked. So this is defensive only, all right? So you can't just use it, which definitely reduces its effectiveness.
But if he infiltrates Dominion, he's going to be in with the Dominion. So
yeah,
pretty easy to get attacked once they realize he's there.
But that's the once they realize he's there, because he unless you expose him, he's just going to be he's just going to be there. But when your opponent sees that the Strike 3, it's Odo, it's a Strike 3 or whatever, they may be less willing. And honestly, if he's the only one there, Strike 3 means that your opponent basically just has to commit 5 guys to attacking him, right? 3 get knocked out, the other 2, and then the other 2 or 3 beat him, most likely. You just have You just send 5 guys with strength 8, and he loses. Anyway, I'm giving him. I'm going to give him just 3 stars. I feel like since he's a triple threat, that makes him even more useful across decks because he can go in a Cardassian deck. If you have Cardassian Dominion, if you're playing Cardassian Dominion, he can go in that deck, right? If you're playing the Fed Bajoran Staging Ground, he goes in that deck. So he's extremely useful. How good he is in play is a question mark because his skills are kind of common.
Yeah,
shall we say?
Especially in this set.
Yep. And so the special downloads are pretty meh. They're not power cards. Those are not power cards. All right. So his special downloads are pretty meh to begin with. But because of his triple ability and because he is part of the resistance and he'll go into the resistance deck too, he's just going to see play. He's going to see play.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mark?
I mean, Cardassian resistance. I mean, if I recall correctly, that's something also a part of this set. So just overall, give him 3.5, just because of the overall usefulness that he can be. And again, the 3 icons on him definitely give him that little bit of a bump for me.
All right. Okay, so that's Odo. He's got founder trait. So again, he actually gets past executive authorization, I believe. And then of course he can use all the changeling cards. He's with the Cardassian resistance trait. He gets to do all the fun stuff, the Cardassian resistance and stuff like that. So he's very useful. He'll see play, and that's about all there is to him. Elim Garrick, another Fed Cardassian Elim Garrick variant. This is an interesting choice of photo. I don't remember what the scene was, but it's a very interesting choice. It's a very interesting choice of photo. Cardassian tailor and former spy. He assisted Legate Damar's resistance efforts to free Cardassia. He does not work with Dominion, so you cannot find a way to use him. You cannot put him in a Cardassian Dominion Alliance deck of any kind. His skill set, though, civilian, security, diplomacy, engineer honor, computer skill, obsidian order, with an 897. I instantly, I feel like it makes him probably more useful than this version. This version was downloadable with Quark's rods, but had fewer skills and they weren't super relevant. And he gets better stats and more skills.
Yeah, I agree there.
So the fact that you can't download him with Quark's rods, I don't feel like you're losing a whole lot.
No, because overall, I mean, what was he? I mean, other than the possible, what was his special download?
Just any other Garrick. And it discards this one.
Yeah.
So this Garrick, so honestly, you can put both of them in the deck if you really want to. In a weird sense, he's still downloadable with Quark's rods. You download this one, put him into play, and then you special download this one to replace him.
Yeah.
So if anything, all this really did was make this one even more playable. Which then really adds on to my, well then this, this, 4 stars easy, because he just made he instantly made himself and another card that is himself more playable.
Yep.
So that's like the hidden ability. He has like hidden second computer skill in here, just because of it.
Yeah. I mean, granted, the Dominion player, those who wanted to play Dominion, Cardassian, Alliance, they're not going to like it, but...
Yeah, but they're not really concerned about it. I mean, this skill set right here is
but the skill
not
set,
that big of a deal for Cardassian Dominion, so this is a more important, like, in Feds.
Yeah, being able to give the Federation or the non-heavy Cardassians the ability for Obsidian Order.
I mean, this right here.
Computer skill engineer,
This little combo this little four skill combo right here is extremely uncommon in the game. So that right there is a pretty big deal. And the fact that you can essentially Quark's rods him into play with the other version.
Yeah.
So.
And randomly he's a security civilian.
Yeah. A random security civilian. So
yeah,
all right.
It doesn't happen often.
So we're both on what, 4 stars then, Mark?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, moving on. Disick. I like the little joke here. He's friends with Ekor. I believe if I'm not mistaken, that joke is because Ekor played both of them. Like this same side actor, the same D-list actor that played both of them. So anyway. Typical Cardassian Glenn, friends with Ekor, joined the Mars resistance movement against the Dominion, wanted to avenge Lacarian City for Cardassia! Officer, honor, medical, Anthropology, 877. He's basically he's gonna see play in the Cardassian Resistance deck.
Oh yeah.
As a Glyn, he might see play in a regular Cardassian deck just because, as a Glyn and with the medical anthro combo.
Medical anthro on a universal with a command star.
With a command star. Universal command stars are always pretty useful. So
Yep.
I'm just gonna give him 3.5 because he's just a supporting card. But he's a good supporting card, so 3.5 for me.
Yeah, that's where I'd give him too. Just having the anthro, just so many options. Duck blind.
Yep.
Some of the dilemmas, medicals of relevant things. So any of your universal personnel that have anthro medical tend to be pretty well used.
All right, so moving on. All right, now we're getting into the meat of the lineup here. Mission: resist occupying forces, Cardassia region. Vendon Prime, so it's a new location in the Cardassian region. Establish covert base and train in guerrilla warfare. Officer ×3 plus honor ×3, or Kira, and specifically this Kira. Has to be that Kira. And Legate Damar. So again, specifically this Damar. So you have to have specifically those two personnel, or honor ×3 and officer ×3, plus 10 of Cardassian Liberation Front in play. So it's a 40-point, essentially, Cardassia Liberation Front homeworld, in quotation marks. I'm making air quotes, everyone at home. Homeworld for the Cardassian Liberation Front. But 2 span. 2 span.
Oh yeah. Oof.
Big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. This right here, but you're gonna see this sort of thing when you have a mission that has ridiculously not easy requirements. Officer ×3 plus honor ×3, or specifically 2 cards, is not like any Kira or any Damar. No, it's specifically that version of the card.
Yeah.
So this is not an easy
Kira
mission to
one
complete. You will earn your 40 points if you solve this mission.
Yeah. And the Kira one would be the one that I'd be kind of like, just because when I saw the Damars, only one of them was Legate Damar.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the other ones aren't. No, I don't think any of the other ones' name were just Kira. They always
No,
something
it has
else.
to be specifically this. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
so that's fine
it's
then.
specifically this card.
Yeah, so
And Legate Damar again.
that's easy enough then for new players not to worry about.
Yep, exactly.
But as you said, as far as the 3 honor, 3 officer, if you've looked at the personnel in this group, that's actually not hard.
No, I get that. That the honor and the officer kind of go hand in hand. So really, it's like 3 off-hos, or specifically these 2 people. But here's the funny thing, though. Specifically these 2 people, it's like have officer and honor ×2 and honor. So really, it's like those 2 plus any 2 officers, or Kira plus any, plus another honor and any 2 officers. It's like, but that's the thing though. Like, it's probably gonna take 3 to 4 people who have these specific 2 skills, 2 things to solve it. This might as well just say you need 3 honor personnel and 3 officer personnel. I realize that, that is how it is on the card. But realistically speaking, officer plus honor does show up quite a bit, but it's not a guarantee. And if you're kind of relying on this idea, well, I just need to have these 3 personnel that have officer plus honor in play, you're falling back into that trap of I need specific people.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing to do when you're trying to play a game where you're trying to speed through dilemmas and then not have people die and then have to solve the mission. That's my point, is that, if you earn it, you've earned it. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying that it's overly hard. I'm just saying that you're going to earn those 40 points. So I'm giving it 3 stars. It will be very useful in the deck that it's useful in. It's going to be the card it's going to be.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. The only other option is that realistically is that like the Liberation Front will just establish themselves on Cardassia and they'll try to secure homeworld. But you're doing that for 35 points, not the 40. But see, that's my problem. Is that for only at 5 points more, you got to come up with a little bit steeper of a hill, and it's only for 5 more points. So 3 stars, and I feel like I might be being generous.
I'll give it 3. I mean, it is another, more regions. Regions are going to be something that is actually going to be really have to look at as far as deck building goes, with some of the dilemmas that are starting to come out.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple of past ones
Yep.
that might see some more play now.
Yeah,
because
that's a
because
good point.
regions are going to become a little bit more impactful because of this set.
Yeah, that's a fair point because and the dilemma that's been spoiled so far will trigger off the fact that this is a region, and if you're going to play with this mission plus, say, the Cardassia region space mission, you know, I mean, you might have to come up with integrity greater than 50 in order to meet that dilemma, and that won't be easy either. You know, so I feel like this card is like it's decent, but it has some strings attached to it that I feel make it a little questionable. The 2 span is, I think, really the only thing that's making it, you know, in the fact that it's a hidden 40, so it's a non-stealable 40. You know, those are its positives, but I feel like there's some strings behind it that give me pause. It'll see play, but it'll come with those strings attached. So moving on. Another Cardassia region mission, Battle of Cardassia. Orbiting Cardassia Prime, defeat overwhelming Dominion forces. On your side of the card, leadership ×2, security ×2, honor ×2, it's worth 50 points if you have a Fed, Romulan, and Klingon ship here. So you need to have 3 ships there, and you need to have these skills. Now, again, these skills tend to go well. The leadership honor and the security honor tend to go well with each other as far as skills being paired together. But you do need to have those ships. Now, those ships don't have to be staffed. You just got to get them there. And then you can put all your people onto the one ship and just, you know, and then just attempt from the one, you know, and then attempt with anybody you need to from the one ship. You have those other ships there, so you're attempting from the one ship. You can protect those other people. Then you can, like, when you want to solve, okay, now I'm going to just beam the mission specialist onto the, you know, or just have it on the one ship. That one ship has the 3 people I need to solve this.
And this is where...
And then you have 50 points on another 2-span space mission.
Yep.
So, go ahead.
And this is where those ships from this set have come in handy and some of the other stuff. Like, you're going to have ships that are just, you know, flying around. You need ships out there. Oh, now they're beefed up. They're less likely to come being picked off one at a time. It's like, it gives your opponent a little bit, well, they've got a mini fleet there. I'll maybe stick to my side of the space line.
Exactly. So, you know, with the staging ground, because this is clearly a staging ground.
Oh, yes.
This is a staging ground mission because non-staging ground mission without the quad treaty for DS9 specific personnel and ships and stuff, this is hard to come up with. Like, this is either quad treaty or triple treaty, and that's it. You can't invest the seed slots to get all 3 of these guys together, or play them where you're literally just like, okay, well, I played this one Klingon ship with this one Klingon personnel aboard it. They are dead to me otherwise. That's way too steep.
About the only way you can get away with it that way is if you play like a Klingon Romulan Alliance treaty deck, and then you have like the random Defiant or Valorant with the cadets.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you get that random Fed ship with some Fed people that you can just bring over there that just interact on their own.
But that's a huge investment, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, at that point, the 50 points are not worth it. Not when there's so many easier ways to get 50 points off a single mission.
Yep.
So really what this is definitively like, okay, you're either running triple treaty, which is harsh, because no side decks is harsh, or this is basically a staging ground mission, okay? Which is fine. This is a really good card in the deck that it's in. This is 4.5 stars for me. The only reason it's not 5 is because even though it's only 30 points on your side, it is 40 on your opponent. So on your opponent's side, in Cardassian Dominion, leadership ×2, security ×2, treachery ×2, and you may only attempt it if you have weapons greater than 36 here, worth 40 points. So your opponent can steal it if they're playing one of those two affiliations. They have to have those kinds of weapons there to steal it. But realistically, your opponent's probably going to stick dead end here unless you provide them with a reason not to. They're going to put dead end here. They're going to have time to build up the 36 weapons they need, and then they're going to just basically blitz this thing and steal this from you. Hardcore. The only thing that's going to help you protect this mission is if you have HQ defensive measures, ironically, on your own side of the table. Ironic. The Cardassian region mission orbiting their planet, you need headquarters defensive measures to stop them from stealing it on their own. Okay, anyway, we'll go cross-eyed if we go down that logic hole.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I love this card. This card's going to see play. This is almost a must-have card in the Staging Ground deck, just because of its ability to be 50 points fairly easily. It really opens up 2-mission win for Deep Space Nine, which is something they struggled with in the past. Coming up with 2-mission win in a DS9 property deck is not easy when it's feds involved. So I love this card. 4.5 stars for me. What do you think?
I'm gonna give it 3.5. Just because it is opponent stealable, and then you have that, and then the fact that it's in the Cardassian region, and you're not playing Cardassian, it could end up getting stuck in a spot on the space line that you don't want it to be, and then it's like, oh, your opponent's like, well, this works out for me. I'm just gonna put this one dilemma under it, which I know exactly how to get by it, and drop 3 ships and then go and steal it, or drop a couple of ships and then by the time you have a chance to get over there and risk it, they're gonna have the fleet built up to have already taken it.
Sure.
And you gave them an easy mission win.
Sure. The one thing about it where I understand what you're saying and I disagree with it to a certain extent is in the deck that this goes in, the Quad Treaty drop deck. Okay, you're gonna have a lot of weapons. And so you can kind of, in a sense, protect it yourself by just being there. Because if you don't, in the Quad Treaty deck, you cannot run Gamma Quadrant missions. There is no reason to be playing with First Stable Wormhole. If you want to play the Bajoran Wormhole, you will seed the Mirror Bajoran Wormhole, and you can do that at any phase. So you can wait to the facility phase, you can see the mission layout, and you can stick Bajoran Wormhole right next to this mission, stick your Deep Space Nine there, and you can basically say, come at me, bro. All right? So that's where I understand what you're saying, and I disagree with it to a certain extent. Where I agree with you on it is the fact that, well, if this is your 50-point mission, what's the planet mission you got next to it? Or near it?
Yeah.
In order to get to your 100 points. Because if your opponent sees that it's there, and then they're like, well, no matter where it is on the space line, if I don't want them to have this, they dead end it. If they don't dead end it, then they're putting a legit combo behind it, and it's possibly getting like their harshest combo. And because you need to have 3 different ships, 3 different affiliations, this deck, this mission also then suffers from, well, what if you do struggle to get that 3rd affiliation ship? What if your opponent is also battle oriented and they are like, okay, well, they have that mission in play. I'm going to focus on the lowest number affiliation that they have. I'm going to target that ship, take them down to 2 affiliation ships. Now they're going to come up with that affiliation again, and so that's where I kept myself. It's not a 5-star card because it's got some holes where what it does is amazing for what it does, but its hole is advanced players like me are going to see that sort of thing, and they're going to hammer on it, on that hole. So I don't, which one of us is right? I don't know. I mean, this is the first card we've come across where you and I have disagreed by a point or more. So we'll see. We'll see what the meta says, what the players say. I feel like there's good arguments on both sides of what we're saying here.
Yeah.
So we'll just kind of see how things play out. One thing in your favor is that if this whole people play a lot of Cardassian Dominion in the meta, then this card does become very dangerous to play.
Oh yeah.
So that's a big feather on your side of the on your cap, on your side of the argument.
If a lot of Dominion's going to be played. I mean, just the Cardassian aspect alone, just Cardassians on themselves, I think, would struggle to get to the ships. The Dominion aspect is going to easily get them to the weapons and the ships they need. Yep,
exactly. So anyway, we'll move on from Battle of Cardassia, but this is we both agree this is a good card. We just very much disagree on how good of a card, and is it a safe play or a dangerous play?
Yeah.
And, time will tell on that one. So, all right, moving on. Interrupt secret sabotage to defeat occupying Dominion forces. Demar his resistance adopted guerrilla warfare techniques taught to them by Kieran Reese from her days in the Bajoran resistance. Plays once each turn. At the end of your turn, on an opponent's undamaged ship, if you have 3 Cardassian affiliation personnel with resistance and lore, you may double flip on them. So this will be a card that will both be easy to set up, but will it be worth it? That's the problem I see with this card. How the players are going to figure out to make this easy will determine whether or not this is even worth doing. Here's the thing about interrupts in first edition. If you don't download it and it goes into your deck, it better have an impact because it is not a personnel that you've drawn, and this game is very much how fast and how quickly can you draw and spew out your personnel.
Yeah.
So interrupts need to have a pretty decent impact on the game. So this is going to definitely be like, how easy is it for you to set this situation up, and how impactful is it going to be? I think that my prognostication on this is that it will not be as easy as people would like it to be, and this may be a very fringe card, very fringe. I'm giving this a 1.5 stars. I would give it 1 star based on like my history of this game and understanding how things like this tend to go. I'm giving it a 0.5 star because I believe in players' ingenuity.
I'll give it myself, just because of the creativeness you can get with this, and I'll give it 2.5.
Okay.
Granted, I like the fact that that it has to be played at the end of your turn, so you can't just randomly...
Well, you can play it at any time. You can play it just triggers at the end of turn.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
At the end of your turn is the big thing.
Yeah, end of your turn. But that's not that big of a deal.
So you can't... Because
you can't do it on your opponent's turn. They can't walk into this. You have to set it up.
Yeah. It's the fact that you can't just like flip on them on your turn and then battle them. Or you can't battle them and then flip on them because it's beyond damage.
Exactly.
But what it allows you to do is you can sit down there and, especially against like a Fed deck where they can't fire on you first, you can just fly around on them, randomly flip 2 damage onto their ship if they're at a space mission. Now do they really want to attempt this mission? Because they could randomly find a mission that just, I'll flip it, I get a free flip on you.
So
there's enough dilemmas that just let you just get a free flip.
Yeah.
And if you're playing the right battle deck, that's a blown up ship.
Yeah.
So it is definitely a stall card in a game.
Sure. And that's where my 0.5 star is coming from. My 0.5 star, the half of the 1.5 star on this is things like stall tacticness of it. Okay, so all I do is I get my 1 ship with my 3 Cardassian resistance personnel here at the location, and then I play this, and then my tactic side deck. So again, this card also requires an investment of a Battle Bridge side deck. So this card is essentially requiring a 1 seed slot. That's something to keep in mind as well. And then if you play with the -3 range, target warp engine coils, and you get -3 on their range, and you get -6 their range, you can take the ship out without taking it out by just basically stranding them at a particular mission. So that's a relevant consideration as well, and that's really where my 1.5 stars are coming from, is because while I think that could be good, it's not really game-breaking, and it's not necessarily fast. And right now, First Edition is a relatively fast game. I think everybody agrees on this. The game may actually be played too fast, that it might need to slow down a little bit.
And
so
they've tried to do that with some other cards in the past, but I mean, again, if you get a little bit, what's the right word? The right ingenuity with your dilemmas and your tactic deck, you can sit down there and try to skill drain them, just like, this is gonna kill random security personnel, or that's what you're hoping you're gonna hit.
Photon torpedo, security, computer skill, and you have dilemmas that revolve around computer skill and security. Yeah.
And it's like, again, it's just like, that kind of hurts. And then if they go back, get the people, and then just do it again on them. And it's like, there's definitely uses for it. I mean, the fact that you have to put 1 ship with like 3 people on it, and then against an affiliation that can fire back.
Well, here's the thing, though.
Here's non-stally then, but
here's the thing, though. Again, this is where I believe in the ingenuity of the players. It just says here. It doesn't say if you have 3 Cardassian personnel on an undocked, uncloaked ship here. It just says here. So your ship with those people on it can be docked. They can be cloaked. because this is just checking to see if they're there. Because it's just it's not playing onto or at anything. It's just you're playing it, and at the end of turn, it's just simply checking, so it can see everything. So those people can be on a cloaked ship.
Oh, then yeah, that's definitely I definitely would go with the 2.5 on there easily. Then
Okay,
if you can have a cloaked ship there, because then
you know what? I'll bump it up to 2 stars just because I realized that as we were talking, and I'm like, you know what? I didn't really consider that at the moment I made my 1.5 stars. I will eat my own little small piece of crow on that, and I'll bump it up to 2 stars just because I thought of that as we were talking. So anyway, Secret Sabotage. Mark and I are giving it 2.5 stars. This card may end up being something people build around, or it may just fizzle out, and we'll see. So. All right, moving on. All right, Mark, are you ready? Are you ready to really get talking here? I mean, we're an hour and a half into this video already, and we're just barely getting to the good stuff. This is by design, though. I'm hoping quite a few people stuck with us because they're waiting to hear what we think about these. So there's a little bit of a bury the lead. You know, we're burying the lead a little bit here just so that we can keep people engaged.
Definitely the meat of the expansion right now.
Yep, right now we're getting to the serious stuff. All right, Staging Ground. Reactor Core Incident plays on Starbase 375, which does not exist, or docking pylons at Deep Space Nine. You must download Treaty Alpha Quadrant Alliance. You may not report personnel for free at all. In place of your normal card play, you may report 1 DS9 icon ship native to the Alpha Quadrant here with up to 3 compatible, not matching, just compatible, DS9 personnel native to the Alpha Quadrant, each of a different affiliation, and up to 1 equipment card aboard. Your crossover is nullified, so there is no getting any mirror people in. You cannot get mirror people in at all. They've closed that door. That's fine. That's fair. That makes sense on both a power and on a thematic level. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
The problem I have is the treaty itself. So the treaty is the next thing to talk about anyway, so we'll just talk about it now, and we'll just talk about them together.
Yeah.
Plays on table if you see the missions only in the Alpha Quadrant, fine. Your DS9, Fed, Romulan, Klingon, and Bajoran cards are compatible. You may not play Cardassian or Dominion cards. That means no downloads, no card plays, nothing for free. You can't have dilemmas download them. You can't at all. The only way to have them in play is if they're seeded. That's the only way to get them into play is if you seed them. So you can't even bring them in with temporal micro wormhole. And I get it. So this is where we have to talk about these cards together. I get it for thematic purposes that your Alpha Quadrant Alliance should not allow you to have the enemy in play. That makes sense from a thematic standpoint. I agree with the designers, that if you're going to play with this treaty, you should not be able to play with these cards. The problem I have is the fact that Staging Ground forces you to download this treaty. That's the problem I have. So this card, which could have been a really interesting, you could have DS9 Bajorans working with DS9 Cardassians. You could have had DS9 Feds working with DS9 Dominion. You could have opened the door to this card basically just being here's an interesting free play variant for all these different affiliation combinations in Deep Space Nine, but because they forced the download of the treaty, it basically says, well, you don't get to have any fun with Cardassians or Dominion with this card. Okay? It's not like the Dominion in the Cardassians. It's like if you're playing with this card, it's already saying you don't get all these cards for free. It's limiting your speed as is. It's limiting your speed as is. The only argument that I can come up with that says, okay, well, this is really what our play consideration was the fact that both Cardassians and Dominion have Dominion war efforts as a card. And the fact that would essentially then circumnavigate this. But the truth of the matter is, though, is that, any outside downloading jumpstart card is always going to be a problem for this. So if you're worried about one and you're not worried about the rest of them and all the future ones you could potentially make, you're not really being fair. So that's my problem with this card. I love this card as a card. I just am being very like I'm a player who loves to be interesting, and I love to be the guy to discover things and to push the boundaries. I love pushing the boundaries in this game. I love finding the little things that other people don't see and exploiting the crap out of them. See my sniper deck, for an example.
No. No.
You know? Like, I mean, how many people were like, oh
No,
my
sorry
god,
for making it
only
better.
Kevin would pull a card out from Blaze of Glory that no one has ever played and turn it into a, what the heck is this going on? Why am I losing so badly card?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I love. And by doing this, I feel like, you know, they obviously are not attacking me personally, but I feel attacked. I feel like they attacked my play style a little bit by saying, like, well, you can't have fun with your Bajoran and, you know, Cardassian or Fed and Dominion deck with this. You have to basically play it the way it was on the show. That's my problem. Is that like they sacrificed a ton of possible interesting gameplay just for stupid thematic reasons. If you designers, if you know guys who did the set, if you have legitimate gameplay testing report information that this is the way you did it, please share it. Happy to hear it. Give me a counterpoint. I would love to hear it. You know, because right now I'm not seeing it. I don't know it, and you know I feel like there was a huge missed opportunity for this to just be a card that gets used, because realistically, I mean, staging ground is like it's the war. The Dominion had their big fleets, and the Feds Alliance, they had their big fleets, and this could have been a card that was like your thematic could have been that, oh, look at these big fleets fight each other, kind of a thing, you know. And I feel like they lost that, and they lost it because they put it on here and they forced the download. If this was just you may download this treaty, that would have been like cool. Now I can do this with these other affiliation combinations and have it be cool. Again, I suspect that Dominion War Efforts is their real reason for not doing it. For doing it this way and not allowing me to have Dominion involved in this at all. But, you know, if that's not the case, then I really question it. So
War Efforts is the free specialist download?
Dominion War Efforts in combination with assigned support personnel is you basically get to download a Dominion or Cardassian support personnel once per turn, every turn.
Yeah. I mean, that...
Functionally.
Yeah. It depends on what they're going to bring out for other treaties possibly in the future. Because, I mean, if you look at it, if you're going like Dominion Fed, with that, you're still getting the 3 personnel.
Yeah.
Because you get the 1 special or support personnel, and then you'd only get the 2 from this that you could play.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have the random non-alliance in there too, which I guess would be the reasons, because then you're guaranteed 4 people. You can almost guaranteed 4 people every turn then. Would be one of the reasons why if you go non-alliance, depending on the amount of non-alliance you would have in for deep space, because you do need the multiple affiliations to get the drops on it.
Yep.
Also, a way to limit the number of just ships with personnel that Dominion can put out as well. Would be another.
That's a
thing
fair
to look
point.
at.
That is a fair point. That maybe their playtesting data was, well, if we let this be available to Dominion, Dominion's just going to be like, okay, here's big fat Dominion ship with a Dominion personnel, a non-aligned personnel, a Cardassian personnel over and over again. You know, and maybe that was a problem, but you know, I don't know that I see it. I don't know that I see it, because it's like, you know, you can put together a Dominion fleet without this card. You can put together. I mean, if that's your concern, it's like, well, you know, I have a Dominion shuttle operations deck to show you. You know, it's like there are a ton of ways.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, it's cool for Kazon to do it, but we can't let Dominion do it through this card. Like that doesn't seem at all like a sufficient enough reason to limit this card in this way. Like I said, I love this card. I love what it's doing of creating an entirely different way to play. It's creating an entirely new fun way for Deep Space Nine cards to play. And I love Deep Space Nine. It's my favorite Star Trek series. Has all my favorite characters in it. I'm super excited to actually play this deck the way they want me to play it. I am just like, but I would really have loved to play Dominion-fed treaty with this. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been super interesting to me, but they're not letting me do it. Now, that being said, there is a way to cheat around this. And it has been brought up before. This is not like I'm coming up with it. This should not be shocking news to anybody. But there's this card called the Devil, and there's this other card called Mercy Kill. And they both allow you to nuke this treaty. But here's the thing. If you don't nuke this treaty on the first turn, you're falling behind. Because you will have only played, a ship and a non-aligned personnel, or a ship and a fed and a non-aligned personnel. You're not getting the full value. And if you don't have it in your opening hand and you don't play it immediately, if you don't get it on your draws at the end of turn, you are really falling behind.
Yeah, it's like if you don't see it, it's like you're instantly going to have to jump into the Masaka, draw another new hand, and then hope between that and your end of turn draws, you see it.
So, this is where I think that, your best bet to have that happen is you basically just play with the Devil in your Q's tent, and you play with original Q's tent, and you play with, 7 copies of Q's tent.
Yeah.
In your deck. 6, 7 copies of Q's tent in your deck. And then with Mazaka, you should be able to find it on the first turn. And then hopefully your opening hand, you had a ship, a non-aligned personnel, and a fed personnel, or whatever affiliation you're using with the Dominion or the Cardassian or whatever.
Yep.
And you were able to do something on that opening turn.
Yeah.
And then you Q's tent and you get it. But here's the thing, if it's Q's tent, then you lose your draws at the end of turn, so then you're struggling that way instead. So again, it's possible, it's really not good, it's probably bad, and it's not as fun. This game is supposed to be about fun. Yes, you got to be concerned about gameplay balance, but I don't know that their concerns about the gameplay balance are warranted. Please prove me wrong, designers. I would be very happy to hear what their playtest data said. I suspect they didn't even think about it. That's a weak suspicion, because Lord knows when you're designing cards and having done design for 2E, you actually want to push the card heavy early and then let the playtesters make you rein it back in. That's what you want to do. Because you don't want to make a crappy card and then it stays crappy forever. You always want to make good stuff. That's what your hope is as a designer. So there's a possibility that they're that they actually had this not force that treaty download. But given the fact that it's just so okay, this is the way it is, I get the feeling that this is the way the card always was. I get the feeling that both the treaty and this card basically started right here, and that the only thing that they changed was what, as Charlie said, he added this in right here. I get the feeling that this always said, just plays on docking plans at DS9, download this treaty. And that's what it always said. And they never said, you may download. I don't think you may download was ever on this card at any point in playtesting. I do not know this for a fact. I'm not in playtesting. So, but that's what I suspect. And I feel like if they didn't test that, then that's a huge miss.
I suppose they're also giving access to Dominion, getting also not only free personnel and ship reporting, but giving them the free equipment reporting as well on top of it. For Dominion can be kind of...
Yeah, but the Dominion already have that with the Remote Supply Depot. Giving Dominion free equipment reporting is nothing. Remote Supply Depot gave you all the equipment you wanted. Not only that, but the Dominion download equipment like it's candy with Victory is Life. It's just candy to them. And so the fact that it was okay, so you get an equipment card from hand aboard your ship for free, whoopity-doo for Dominion. That wouldn't change playtesting at all. I cannot imagine. Like I said, I suspect that if they ever did test it, somebody probably just said, what about Dominion War efforts? So I get 3 people, a ship, and then I download a personnel guaranteed every single turn, whereas non-Dominion, non-Cardassian, they don't get that guaranteed every personnel down, 4th personnel. Yeah. That's too much. If that's the case, then I will respect it that they did the play testing. I have not. I haven't played with these cards yet. I don't know. But if they never did, that's what I'm saying. If they never did test this without this mandatory download, I feel like they made a huge mistake by not at least testing it to see if that was something that was legit or not. Because the truth of the matter is that when it comes to Dominion battle decks, whether you give them 2 personnel a turn or 4 personnel a turn, it's the same thing. Trust me on this.
Yeah.
Like anybody who's played against my Dominion deck, my Dominion Slaughter deck knows whether I drop. I have turns where I play 1 personnel a turn, and that is all I need.
Yeah.
That is all I need. I have had many turns with that deck where I'm like, my card play is nothing, and then I ASP download, get a draw, and then I come kill you, and I go do missions, and that's all I'm doing. 4 personnel a turn for that deck would not be anything, because they would need to find those additional draws, which is what the Dominion and Cardassians struggle with.
That's true.
So that's where I'm saying that, like, so if their concern was Dominion war efforts, well, did they really test it? Because you got to come up with draws for that deck. And if you're coming up with draws for that deck, you're probably not as battle-oriented as you would like to be. Because if you're putting in events to draw you cards, if you're putting in handshakes to draw cards, that means those are not... That's not you playing Quantum Slipstream Drive. That is not you playing in another ship. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. That's why I suspect they never tested it. But I would like to know. Designers, let me know. Shoot me a private message. I'm curious. All right. That's Staging Ground. It's amazing. 4.5 stars, maybe 5 for me.
Oh, yes. Definitely going to get me into playing some Deep Space Nine.
There you go. All right. Designers, you got to win on your hands regardless of Kevin's bitching about stuff. Regardless of my concerns, regardless of me being angry I didn't get to have all the toys. Because I'm always angry that I don't get all the toys.
I'll actually play some Deep Space Nine now instead of my usual non-Deep Space Nine stuff. Enterprise, Voyager.
Yeah, you need to get off Enterprise, okay? Get off that Enterprise Johnson and start playing something else, Mark, alright? Okay.
It was more get off the TNG stuff.
Oh, and TNG.
The TNG feds.
You and your Enterprise and TNG feds. You need to get off that, Mark, and start playing with some real toys. Alright. Dominion Command. So this is where I do get some toys. The next couple cards, yep. Kevin gets toys. All right. Seeds on Cardassia Prime. If you have not seen any Gamma Quadrant missions, you may download Central Command here. Your compatible Vorta, Founders, and Thoughts, i.e. leaders of the Breen, that are native to the Alpha Quadrant. May use Central Command as if they were Cardassian goals. So basically it's just your Alpha Quadrant Vorta, Alpha Quadrant Founders, Alpha Quadrant Thoughts, that are native to the Alpha Quadrant, they can be a Cardassian goal for purposes of reporting for free. And then once per game, in place of a card draw, you may download one Dominion Universal Alpha Quadrant ship. So far, there is only one of these, and it's the Alpha Attack ship, I believe. I'm going to assume that they're making more. The designers posted in the questions forum that there are apparently 7 ships in the set. We've already seen 3.
Yep.
I'm going to assume that we're going to get a Dominion Alpha Quadrant Dominion battleship and an Alpha Quadrant Dominion warship, like Jem'Hadar warship, like Wayu's warship type of a warship. Okay.
So we've seen 3. We haven't seen a Bajoran.
No, we have not seen Bajoran or Dominion or Cardassian.
So I see those 2, and then so probably a Bajoran, a Cardassia, and then maybe 2 Dominion ships.
And then 2 different Dominion ships. And like I said, I'm going to assume it's going to be a new Alpha Quadrant battleship and a new Alpha Quadrant warship. I mean, we know that those things were built. The Dominion was cut off. The whole point of this is the Dominion was cut off, and they had to build new ships. They were building new ships of every class. They weren't just building attack ships. They were building ships of every class. As a matter of fact, strictly speaking, by the way, all the Dominion battleships were Alpha Quadrant. The fact that they put a Gamma Quadrant icon on the Dominion battleship was garbage because those only appeared in the Alpha Quadrant, and it was said it was their new battleship. So they were built in the Alpha Quadrant. They stuck a Gamma Quadrant icon on there for gameplay balance reasons, not for thematic reasons. So they better make a Dominion battleship with no Gamma Quadrant icon on it. And if they didn't, anger face, anger face, anger face. So, what I like about this is that download. That download is going to be big, because it's in place of a card draw. So it gives you that freedom to be like, okay, card play person, free play person, download my assigned, or download the ship, or download an assigned support personnel to, like, say, a Dominion outpost of some kind, and then you download the ship. The reason why they put it in place the card draw, though, and this is the thing about it that is like, okay, this is their balance on it, is that because it's in place of a card draw, you're not doing it to the end of your first turn. So there's no first turn. I go straight from Cardassia to Dominion Mission, download a Royal Supply Depot. I'm guessing that's what that was about. At the very least, that is what that's about.
There's that, and then most of the other download Universal Ship ones tend to be in place of a card draw.
Sure. Although a lot of times they're in place of a card play. Like, Call for Reinforcements is in place of a card play. So they could have done it in place of a card play. The fact they're doing it in place of a card draw, that's why I'm saying they don't want you to have it to the second turn. For whatever gameplay balance reason, that's what it's about. I'm guessing a lot of it also has to do with the fact that they don't want you necessarily being like, here's ship, here's download of Deus on the first turn through Temporal Micro Wormhole. That's probably their other concern in playtesting, I'm guessing. They wanted to slow it down by a turn. Which is fair, because, I mean, Dominion are all about battle, and you don't want to just, like, give all of the battle deck all of its toys immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want them, So, anyway, that's that. But, if we are getting, here's the thing, if we are getting an Alpha Quadrant Universal Dominion ship, that would be Call for Reinforcements. So you would still have Call for Reinforcements in place of a card play and still be able to do that. So that's why I don't really necessarily see this as a huge problem, or definitely not a major detraction on this card. Because you definitely have the Alpha Attack ship. You can still do the Alpha Attack ship with Call for Reinforcements too. So even if they don't give you the new battleship, still that. Anyway, I'm giving this 4.5 stars. I think it's great. It's definitely going to be part of, and a serious part of, a whole new Alpha Quadrant focused Dominion deck.
Yeah, I'll give it 4 stars for that reason as well. I mean, it's going to give, especially some of your newer players and those that, okay, I can focus on the Alpha Quadrant now, because obviously you can't see Dominion, or you can't see Gamma Quadrant missions for this to trigger. So it's like it's helps give you the access to a variety, of an alliance type of a deck, but make the seeding a little bit easier for new persons. They don't have to worry about multiple space lines. They only have to worry about their one Alpha Quadrant space line.
It's kind of a weird balancing in first edition that when you want to make things easier for new players, like you have to spell it out for them. But then at the same time, it also comes with that whole but if for whatever reason their mind or their eyes walk right over this line, you can easily make an illegal deck. So that's one of those weird things where it's like you can't really get mad at the designers for doing it because it's not really them. That's just the nature of the game, And that's happened to me many times. It's happened to a lot of people. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. It's very easy to, read right past an important line of a card. And it's usually the line that says you may not do something. Because, let's face it, as human beings, we don't like being told no.
Yep.
Look at America during this pandemic. We don't like being told no. I live in a deeply Republican Christie Nome state. Which, apparently only a few of us are okay with being told no. This world is full of people who did not learn a very kindergarten level lesson of sometimes in life you have to sacrifice a little bit for the greater good. But people don't like being told no. That's a big thing. We all have our childhood scars over being told no. All right. Another card spoiled today: Cardassian Liberation Front. Another reactor core incident. Plays on Cardassia region planet. Discard if you have a facility in play. I've already posted in the forums that I don't like this line. I have a problem with this line strictly from a gameplay feasibility thing. Because apparently you having facility is also, it's a combination of you owning it or commanding it. So if you seed Empok Nord, you lose this. If you commandeer Empok Nord, you lose this. If you commandeer your opponent's Deep Space Nine, you lose this. That doesn't seem good. That seems like their real intention was for you just to not have a facility in play of yours that you seeded. I still feel like you should be able to build one. You should still, you should still have been able to build one. You should still be able to steal an opponent's Nor, right? You should still be able to commandeer it and not lose your play engine. Granted, if you take your opponent's Nora, well, I guess that's now your play engine. That's where you're playing people to, but you don't get it for free.
Yeah.
And then you don't get this download, and you don't get these downloads, which are essentially more free plays.
Yeah.
So anyway, the card says your equipment, DS9 Cardassians, DS9 Cardassian ships, with one or fewer staffing icons may report here, meaning this planet, anywhere at that planet, either in orbit or on the planet, or even aboard your opponent's ships. That's important. Once each turn, one DS9 Cardassian personnel with resistance and lower or a Cardassian DS9 dissident may report for free. Once each turn in place of your normal card play, you may download Revolutionaries or Stolen Attack Ship. The Stolen Attack Ship is just simply this card, Alpha Quadrant, here, 688, Invasive Transporters, Energy Dampener. So, you can theoretically play Cardassian Dissident Invasive Beeman.
Yep.
That might be a thing. I don't know. Maybe that's why they don't want you to have Impact Nor at all. You come into your Impact Nor, download a ton of equipment cards, you invasive beam it on people, and you go to town on them. I don't know. Maybe they don't want Kevin doing that. I don't know. Maybe they don't want Kevin doing that. That's what I always think whenever they don't let me do stuff. I feel like it's against me. Anyway, but again, I just feel like that's what they really intended, but they worded it this way, and that becomes like a secondary casualty, maybe even unintentional casualty. Maybe they did intend it that way, and they have playtest data to back it up. But I don't know. So these are just my thoughts. So what do you think, Mark?
To me, depending on what we get here, and then even in the recent future, because again, I don't know what there is out there for Deep Space Nine Cardassian Resistance and Dissident personnel. But to me, it could almost fall into some of the tropes of some of the other reactor core cards out there of, okay, it's a great theme type thing, but there's no support for it. There's just not enough personnel to help support it to make it something I want to play with.
Right, it has been pointed out, and I saw this immediately the moment I read the card. You could use it with Maquis, because they don't have a facility either. So you can have your okay, we're freedom fighters now. This is my freedom fighter deck. These are my Cardassian dissidents with my Maquis dissidents. We're all fighting the Cardassian powers. We're all fighting the Dominion powers here. Let's all work together. Which honestly, if the Dominion had not destroyed the Maquis prior to this, that's probably the way they would have taken the story. I mean, let's be honest. That's what the writers would have probably done. Anyway, so that's what you can do. I don't know that this will ever become a thing because of the need for them to be Deep Space Nine. So you would lose, if you did this, you would lose the ability to really do this. But if they could theoretically in the future, well, no, they couldn't because it'd be Voyager property. Anyway, technically speaking, if you found a way to make this work, if new cards come out in the future, or if you're just being crazy, you want to be crazy, you can technically use this with Caretaker's Array. You could seed Ocampa Planet, you could seed, a ship there, and then, I don't know, but, yeah. There's so many. That's a rabbit hole that I don't want to spend 10 minutes going down.
Again, it's the same thing as some of the other reactor core cards out there. It's they had great themes to them. It's just a matter of you lose out on. You just don't have enough personnel variety.
Sure.
And then the personnel you have is there's plenty. You have several universal ones.
Yeah.
But then you're limited. Your skill tree is just so limited, and if you come across something that you just don't have skills for, you're SOL.
So, and I agree with you, Mark, on this idea that both the TNG warp cards and the DS9 reactor cards, while they have been great for kind of streamlining the game, they've had kind of this weird Jekyll and Hyde problem to them, in the sense that if you find ways to play multiples of them or across them, you can stack things, and you stack things really well. You can, and so the designers and the playtesters have to constantly check, what can this stack with? Well, this can stack with the Maquis, and it can also stack with this, it can also stack with that. So that's been like, a good thing in the sense of like it streamlines the game and stuff like that. The problem is that every single one of these ends up being very narrow. And so, and it's almost like the designers are forcing you to build the deck the way they want you to build the deck. They don't want you to necessarily play the game the way you want to play the game. And that's something that maybe I'm overly sensitive to because I like to play the game on that pushing the boundaries kind of way. I know that a lot of people like to play like the sort of like, oh cool, I want to play thematically. I want to very much play this, whatever. They're happy with that. That's fine. Power to them. But for me, it's like, because I have to have Deep Space Nine icon, or I have to have TNG icon, and that has to come from a thing, and that thing only stays in play if I stay on the property, if I stay within the TV show. I don't want to always stay within the TV show, Mark. I like all the TV shows. DS9 is my favorite, but I like all.
I know.
I like them all. Channel my inner Jerry Seinfeld. Why are you making me do that? What's the deal with you making me play the reactor core only cards? Anyway, that's my thought on this. I feel like it's a good card. Someone's going to do it. I think there are some interesting things you can do. I think the whole idea of you starting on Cardassia, you have Legate Damar download for Cardassia, you try to do a 50-point Cardassia, and then you try to do potentially a 50-point space mission somewhere. I have an idea in my mind on that, and I don't want to share it because I feel like it could be something very interesting. And
I mean, getting the free revolutionaries actually is pretty nice. I can see why they don't want to do too many like resistance personnel, because that's 2 free downloads.
Yeah, it's a download of basically 2 free people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or I guess the dissident, not resistance, but your universal dissidents.
Yeah,
so some of those are actually pretty decent that I look at. So
yeah, exactly. Like there's decent dissidents. I mean, for Cardassians, I mean, you've got Ari and the team of Land. Oh, sorry,
well, you'd have to.
Ari and Hogue are pretty good. Like, you would download Ari and Hogue, plus the new ones that have come out. Like, there's going to be the new ones in this set. Yeah. So you're going to have some options. So basically what's going to happen with this, and this is where I feel like this is a good card, because you're going to have, say, place of card play, I'm going to get revolutionaries, I'm going to get 2 people. So there's a card play, and then there's the free play, and then I'm also going to have this card's free play, and then if I'm playing with Maquis, there's a free play. So there's 4 personnel in the turn. So this is a good card for those first couple of building up turns, okay? The problem is, though, is that even if you pair them with Maquis, you got to get your Cardassian region and your Badlands or Demilitarized Zone regions close together. That's a problem. And their ships are not range hogs at all. So while that's an obvious pairing, I don't think it's a good one.
No.
Okay? This game is very much like getting your ship 2 things. You gotta get your ships 2 things. So I'm giving this 3.5. I hope someone proves me wrong.
Yeah, I'll give it 3 again, because the warp cards, reactor cards, there's so many of them that just have potential, and then you go in and look at it as a new player, or a player is like, okay, where's the support to this thing? And it's not like you can play with like 2 warp cards. It's kind of hard to get 2 warp cards or 2 reactor cards into play.
Yeah, because one has to come from Reshape, and then the other one has to be, well, it seeds on its own. So they've already tested it where it works with everything else anyway. So it's like, they know what they're letting you do. Yeah. So, all right, let's move on.
Yeah, it's like you get one from your Reshape, and then you have to play the other one. And then the reliability of having it in hand is like, no.
Yep, not happening. All right, Alliance with the Sona. So this is, okay. This is the card of the set. As much as Staging Ground excites me, this card
scares the shit out of me.
Well, it should, because I am going to...
Sorry for the language.
Don't worry, Mark. I don't have enough followers to ever be... I don't think there's enough players in the Trek community who are going to watch this for me to be considering YouTube monetization. So do not worry. Swear all you want. I don't care. If there are any kids that are watching this, whatever, sorry, I guess. But, this is how it is. Anyway, Alliance with the Sona, seeds on table. Your non-aligned Sona cards become Dominion, and while your Reshape the Quadrant is in play, gain DS9. While your Sona personnel is in play, you may ignore White Deprivation, nullified if you see that a Gamma Quadrant mission, or if your Invasive Beeman is in play. In play! So if it's face down as a hidden agenda card, It's not in play yet. So hidden agenda cards they're not in play until they're revealed. So there you go. Like, you can seed that invasive beam in and then just hold on to it for when you're ready to break this. Meaning, you've basically played enough stuff out that you no longer care to have your Sona be DS9. You no longer care to get any DS9 icon related anything. And you're obviously fine with the Sona going back to being non-aligned. Who cares? They still work with your Dominion personnel. That's not an issue.
It's more along the lines of, like, you don't care about the Sona going back to non-aligned. It's breaking reshape.
It's just breaking reshape, which basically means that you lose the DS9 icon on everything. And if you have any cards that rely on the DS9 icon, well, you lose that. Well, Dominion don't have a whole lot of that. Reward from the founders, I guess. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's probably a few other things that I'm forgetting, but when it comes to playing Dominion, it's like you're not really caring. I have not had a DS9 only Dominion deck yet, because I've always played it with Assigned Mission Specialist breaking it in the seed phase. So, this is not really an issue. So realistically, you're only holding on to it for as long as you can because of something new, something that's in this set that you're busy doing it with that matters to you. But honestly, having your Sona just go back to non-aligned is not that big of a deal. So, I see this as like you're basically just going to hold your invasive beam in secret until you need it. And then when you need it, here you go, upside your head. Here's the thing though. The thing about this is the fact that you then lose the white deprivation protection, which then means that once you make this transition to breaking your reshape for the invasive, you've now got to come up with your Catcher Cell whites, because your opponent's probably still going to have white deprivation in their Q side deck, and then if they don't have it because they're playing with the original Q's tent or something and no Q the referees in play, well then you don't care anyway. But but here's the thing: Dominion are always, even if you're playing this card and you don't care about white deprivation, that just means you're not getting your Catcher Cell white early game like you've been forced to in the past. It just means that I am going to be like, okay, cool. I'm going to flip my invasive beam in, break this, beam over, whoop you upside the head. Victory is life. Go get my Catcher Cell white. I'm safe, and your people are dead. So this restriction, not that big of a restriction. This punishment, maybe a slap on the wrist at best, if that. I feel like the nun missed your wrist on this one, if that's what they're trying to do. So I love this card. This card is the bomb, and I look forward to using it. And I really look forward to having Dominion with Sona now be the thing I try out. So Get ready, world.
Yeah, I don't need a Dominion War. Even if you don't come in invasive beam, and I don't need a Dominion War fleet getting 2 turns on me. Nothing survives.
So
not even facilities survive.
And that's kind of the thing. Is it like, honestly, I mean, this is what's going to happen. And Mark and I talked about this before we started the recording. But basically, word to the wise, you're gonna see Insurrection the mission alongside a bunch of clearly Dominion missions, and if you're not putting your dead end under the Insurrection, you deserve what you get. You deserve the double turn and unstopping their people and slaughtering you twice in a turn punishment that you deserve, okay? So word to the wise, just take your medicine and stick your dead end underneath Insurrection still. Don't get cute. Don't get smart. If you want to bluff it, that's some advanced level thinking where you're just like, you know what, I'm not going to do it because I'm doing some other advanced level thinking. There's always in-game decisions, but don't go crying to mama when your opponent calls your bluff, attempts Insurrection, gets through, and gets double turns. Gets a double turn, and then unstopping their people, and they blast their way to the finish line on you. Okay? Literally. So there's still going to be in-play gamesmanship revolving around it, but just understand that Insurrection is almost 80% of the time going to be, you're going to have to just stick your dead end, and you're just going to have to, it's going to soak up your dead end, and that's just how it is.
I do like, though, newer player, especially a newer one, to playing Dominion, which I really haven't. I've looked at it a little bit, but I haven't been able to do the ignore white deprivation without having to worry about managing the Kessel White equipment. Is kind of nice for a newer player.
Yes, very much so. This is where, you know, to give, you know, equal and fair, you know, balanced and fair. We are balanced and fair around here, Mark, are we not? We're balanced and fair, right?
To a point. To a point, so we don't want it to be.
As much ripping as we did on Broken Links, I will give the credit where the credit is due. You were absolutely right, Mark. This card makes it so that a newer player, if they want to play Dominion, they can go an option where they do not care about Catcher Cell White and they can play a Catcher Cell White free deck while also not worrying about the mechanics of invasive beam in and battling opponents. And you can just play a straight Dominion Sona Solver, which might be a thing. To be perfectly honest, I have it in my head some ways that I think it could very much be a thing. So to everyone out there, you know, who might play me in regionals or continentals or whatever in the future, if you see me playing Dominion Sona, it may not necessarily be battled, and, you know...
Because the Sona will help fill up some of those Dominion skill gaps.
Oh, very much so, because the ability for the Sona outpost to just download 2 Sona, I mean, granted that means you're not getting the downloads of your Jem'Hadar, but who cares? I mean... You know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's all about just getting that additional personnel when you're playing Dominion.
Yep.
So, you know, you get those, so you get 2 Dominion, you know, the 2 Sona personnel, and they're going to be the 2 Sona personnel that cover the Dominion skill gaps. Because, like we said, Dominion struggle with anthropology, Dominion struggle with diplomacy, Dominion struggle with science. Again, we have yet to see what these Alpha Quadrant, you know, Dominion personnel are going to be. This Alpha Quadrant Founder, Alpha Quadrant Forta are going to be. Chances are, you know...
There's only 30 cards left. If there's supposed to be another, 4 ships? That's 26.
There's plenty of room. There's plenty of room for there to be, like, 7 more Dominion personnel revealed. Tons of room. Tons of room for it. And we could probably even try to parse it out here. Looking at the list here, we've got Dominion at 33. Nog comes into the First Federation at an L at 41.
I suppose they give you the card numbers, yeah. So
and there's someone between Damar and Odo at Cardassian or Dominion. So there could be one person in front of Damar, and then there could be there's 8 slots. So there's 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 7 slots open between the 2 of them. 6 of them could be Dominion easily. I mean, especially when you think about the fact that there's almost undoubtedly got to be a version of Wayun in here. Almost undoubtedly got to be a version of Wayun, and possibly Gelnon. There's possibly a Gelnon version in here. So there you go.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Alliance with the Sona. I'm giving it a 5. Easily. I mean, honestly, so far from what we've seen, Alliance with the Sona and Staging Ground are probably the 2 biggest cards in the set right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't even feel like it's a question mark. And anybody who disagrees with us...
No, those, I mean...
I would really like to know your reasons why you would disagree with
those
us.
Are
so far.
2,
more cards to come.
Yeah, it's like 1, 2, and then the Cardassian Liberation Front is 3 as far as, okay, those are your play engines for this set.
Yeah, definitely.
You're probably not going to see anything else because those are going to be the 3 things you focus on.
Well, you know, Charlie has said that basically we've got Dominion, we've got Feds, and we've got the Resistance, whatever. He said that was his ideal 3 weeks of reveals, but they only are doing 2 weeks of reveals. So you're right, Mark. I mean, that's essentially the 3 pillars of this set right now. So yeah, we're not going to see any engines besides those 3. But again, you know, Alliance with the Sona isn't an engine. But it's still a whole new way of playing.
Yeah.
So I think, and given again, you can see the card numbers here. You know, there's some space here between Staging Ground and Secret Sabotage, between Incident and Interrupt, that we might see, you know, we might see one more incident that's important. And then, of course, there's whatever number 8 is here for the event. And I want to say that they teased in the forum that one of the designers said that number 8 was like a big card. So we'll see. All right, moving on. We've already done the treaty, attack plan, event, plays on ops. If your opponent's personnel or ship has ever initiated battle against your DS9 Fed card, your cards have no affiliation attack restrictions. This is captain's orders, so it can be downloaded with Ready Room Door or Commander's Office. So yeah, it's not really that big of a deal to get this into play. This is not a hard card to get. So.
And this is, oh, I'm playing Feds. I can pick on you. No, you can't.
No, you can't. No, you can't, because I not only do I get to respond, but then I fully get to respond with everything later on in the game. You can set this up, because here's the thing. There's the old trick. There's this old trick, Mark, from way back in the day that is still very valid. You seed Quark's Bar on Deep Space Nine. You seed... There's a dilemma, a Chula dilemma, that puts a personnel at Quark's Bar, relocates them to Quark's Bar, and then you put Q-Flash behind that, and then they go through the Q-Flash, and the Q-Flash has issue of patriotism, and they are forced to battle you at every location where they're opposing you, so then you literally force them to battle. So you literally just put a Fed person in Quark's Bar, and then you have them trip that combo, that two-card dilemma combo. You force it to battle you, and boom, there you go. Bob's your uncle. You can battle him now the rest of the game with this card.
Yep.
Bob's your uncle. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. They're all cards you would have played anyway, and you get cool style points for playing with Q-Flash again. Yes, I'm gonna do it, Mark. I'm gonna do it. Oh man, no, actually, I'm not gonna do it. Neil's gonna do it. Neil Matthews is going to do it. He's going to be the one to do it. Neil, I'm calling you out. You're doing it. I'm calling you out, bro. Calling you out. I give that a 2.5. I mean, it's one of the things where it's like you can play it. It might be good if you do play it, but most of the time it's a useless card because if you're just solving, you're solving, and if you're battling, you can play with Kirk. To be perfectly honest, you can play with Kirk. You know, because the Fed battling Kirk has a DS9 logo on him. So he doesn't break. You can play with him. So that's probably your better route for battling the Feds anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it 2. I mean, it's something you'll see. 2.5. If you're playing with Captain's Order like Red Room Doors and things like that, anyways, and you have a spot still available in your Q's tent,
yeah,
it's a filler. Then it's one of those like, oh, if it happens, I'll throw it out there. Otherwise,
sure.
Because like you said, like if you're going to be battling anyways, you're going to be focusing on either other ways to get your Feds to battle, or it's going to be a Fed light deck more. Or you're just
going to respond to them. They shoot you at a mission, and then you just turn around and you counterattack them the next turn. Like, I mean, realistically, that's what's going to happen. You know, they're gonna shoot you, and you're just going to keep responding. You know, and you don't really need to like get proactive with it because chances are, as much as the staging ground deck is going to be like, I can put a fleet together. Are you really going to have it be a fleet battle deck?
Yeah.
Because you're entirely relying on, your ability to get to other quadrants without the benefit of a carrier group. No Kazon warship ferrying everything through a wormhole for you. So every ship has to move independently. You're subject to the range of every ship, right? And then, and you can't just be like, I quantum slipstream drive right on top of you and surprise you. None of that. You have to seed all the additional seed cards of Barzan Wormhole and all this other stuff in order to get to all the quadrants, which, if that's what you're committed to doing, that's fine. You're going to do it. But at the same time, again, every ship has to go through the Barzan Wormhole. Every ship has to get stopped. Every ship has to use this full range to get to the opponent. They have all the time in the world to just evade you.
Yep.
Okay, so, and it takes you to like the 3rd, 4th turn before you put this fleet together. Because you're just playing the 1 ship, 3 personnel, go. 1 ship, 3 personnel, go. 1 ship, 3 personnel, now we fly somewhere. That's not going to get the job done. I'm sorry, I've played Interaction way too much to know that doesn't get the job done. So I personally feel like playing Staging Ground as a fleet battle deck is a red herring. It's a red herring in my opinion. So, all right, that's attack plans. Neil, you've been called out, dude. You've been called out. I throw down. All right, last 2. Oh, actually, 1 last card because we dealt with Mantle of the Empire already. So One last card. Someday I'll retire here, and someday this video will be over. To get past requires integrity greater than 40 plus 10 times, where the times equals the number of other missions in this region. If it is in a region, otherwise X equals 0. So basically, it's a base of 41 integrity to get past it, 50 if they're playing 2 missions in a region, 61, 61 if they've got 3 missions in a region. So this card basically says you want to play Patrol Neutral Zone with like your 5-6 missions, you're going to have to basically adapt Negate Obstruction past this. Because it's going to take like 90 integrity to get past it otherwise. Good luck with that. So yeah, basically this, if you're playing against Borg PNZ, a Borg Neutral Zone deck, this is a dilemma. This is a you must adapt Negate Obstruction this because you're not getting past it otherwise.
No, not with the Borg.
Not with the Borg. You're going to have to literally have like 20 drones in play to get past it. Against everybody else, so assuming they don't have any regions and you just put this somewhere, it's still integrity of 41 to get past it. That's 5 people. That's pretty much 5 people. You're going to have a very hard time coming up with 4 people to do it. It's going to take Kukalaka type stuff to do that. So it's basically a solid 5 people to get past this. So this is a good make you commit resources, and now I'm going to hurt you behind it dilemma. Even if you're not facing a region deck.
Yeah.
So
it's another good. I see it as another decent setup card for the Parasite, the
Den of Neural Pancakes.
Yeah, because people have learned to get around that now with I'm just gonna load up with blasters, send 6 people. I get through this. I've got 3 blasters, so I'm gonna save everyone.
Yeah,
you can't save anyone with this one. It's just not there. And you have to load up with integrity. So other than certain personnel, it's a little bit harder to get through.
Yeah, exactly.
And harder to bump.
You can still Den of Neural Parasites, but here's the thing. And I get what you're saying. The thing about this dilemma is it becomes another dilemma where it doesn't tip what you're doing behind it.
Yeah.
It's just saying, I'm a good dilemma on my own. I'm requiring you to commit. You don't know what's behind me. I could be killing you behind me, or I could just be like, what's just a series of roadblocks.
Yep.
This requires you to commit, so you can't just I send 4 dudes, whatever, I get through this, and then I get to the next one. You have to commit some people, and then the next one behind me maybe is just okay, I'm just going to separate them apart, and then I'm going to hammer you, or I'm going to Den of Neural Pancakes you, and then I'm going to hammer you. It doesn't tell you what's behind it at all. That's a very underrated thing in Dilemma play in First Edition. Can you put enough different things in places so that when your opponent sees it, even if they see it as a first dilemma, if your opponent sees it with ocular implants, this doesn't tip at all. That just says, oh crap. Against Borg, this is okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to just beam a guy down, face it, adapt past it. That's all I know. So I feel like this is a really solid dilemma. It's a solid 4. Yeah. Solid 4 stars.
Yeah, I like the fact that it's integrity against something other than cunning and strength, which you've seen a lot of these type of walls.
Right.
Again, for me, I'm a Fed player. I'm TNG Fed player. I love integrity. I get through integrity easily.
And if
I don't like strength.
Yeah, if you're playing say Dominion, this gets a little bit harder to get through. Yeah. This is a decent dilemma. It's gonna be a decent dilemma against Dominion Cardassian. It's gonna be a decent dilemma against Borg because they're gonna have to adapt past it, most likely.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to commit way more drones to it than they feel comfortable committing to it.
And then the decks that like to boost integrity generally do play within regions, so that boost still it's still boosting itself for you to get by it. So that boost just still means you have to commit more people.
And see, here's the thing though, it hurts Borg, but it's also extremely useful to a Borg deck because the decks plural that tend to give Borg problems tend to be region based. Bajoran Turtle tends to give Borg decks pretty nasty fits because they turtle up at Bajor, and unless you're playing with Barial of Borg, you have a hard time busting through that nonsense. And Bajor is probably not the headquarters that you're off-seeding to do Assimilate Homeworld on. So you don't really have any way of shutting them down like you would typically just, you run Earth, you screw feds. And Earth doesn't really have a region right now yet. I mean, it does, but not really. Nobody plays those missions.
Yeah, the missions just are no, like
nobody's playing.
There isn't any sort of like warp card or reactor card yet that you can build a deck around playing in those missions.
Yep, exactly.
But like one of them requires the one special icon from the offset of TNG that's not TNG.
Oh, the Fed Enterprise E.
Yeah, Enterprise E.
The space. That's exactly the mission I'm thinking of. Is that basically nobody plays with that mission. I tried. I did my damnedest to try to make that deck work. It doesn't work. It needs help. It's cards away yet from being a real deck. And maybe it will, because they're coming out with the movie set at some point. Maybe Enterprise E gets more help again. We'll don't know. We'll see.
Yep.
But really, I feel like this card, it both hurts the Borg to a degree, helps the Borg, I think, to an equal degree.
Yeah.
And then for everybody else, it's just a good, solid dilemma. It's going to see play. I feel like my 4 stars is a very accurate rating on this one. And, hey, there we go. That's the cards that have been revealed so far. This has been a very long video, but I've had a great time talking with everybody. I assume Mark's been having a great time talking with everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Little puppy girl's been sitting here snoozing most of this conversation. So
or stinking up the place.
Or stinking up the place. So if that lets you know, I mean, I guess that's her critique of Daddy talking is, Dad, you're boring.
Pay attention to me.
Yeah, pay attention to me. So, So, hey, feel free to leave your thoughts, comments in the comments section. Your opinions. Your own strategy ideas, anything you want to say, agree, disagree with me, that's great. Love to hear it. We're excited about Dogs of War. This is the first video. We're going to do a next video on next Friday as well, when the set releases, and we'll then pretty much go over all the remaining cards that get revealed. That is also going to be a long video.
Yep.
I assume you're going to be here for it again, Mark?
Certainly.
All right, excellent. Glad to hear it. So, that's Dogs of War so far, the first 24 cards of the set, as revealed so far. Let us know if you're excited about it. Make it so, I guess. But thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day. May the prophets be with you.